Get all the electronic gadgets all synced up.
I did. That's another thing.
November 9th.
Are you ready?
All right, hold it down out there.
Attention.
You need the.
All right, Mr. McCombs has called this meeting to order. Let's call this meeting of the Marion County Board of Supervisors to order officially. Danny, roll call.
Keisha Johnner. Here. Mark Ramey.
Here?
Steve McCombs.
Here.
Very good. Is there a motion on this morning's agenda?
Make motion to approve today's agenda.
Second.
McCombs.
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Very good. Danny, any communications received by your office?
No communication.
Very good. Supervisors?
No.
Okay, none here. Very good. We'll move on. Public comments. This is the portion of the supervisor agenda the public can speak on items not listed on this morning's agenda. The board cannot act on those items, but they could be topics for future Board of Supervisor meetings. Are there any items not listed on this morning's agenda for public comment? Looking in the room here, seeing none. Renee? Emily? No? Good. We will move on. We'll entertain a motion on this morning's consent agenda.
Make motion we approve today's consent agenda.
Second.
Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Very good. On to business. We have resolution 2021-78, and this is a resolution authorizing to enter into a 28E agreement regarding electronic system service. Who's speaking on that one? Who's that? Oh, Karen.
Hey, Karen.
Now, see, this is my problem. I took my glasses off to read. Now I got to put them back on to see you. All right. Very good. Karen, thank you for coming this morning.
Basically what it is like a cleanup bill. Iowa Land Records was established in 2005, and the first 2080 agreement, I believe, was in 2008. That was signed and recorded, and they just wanted to clean it up a little bit, clean up the language. Iowa Land Records were, in the language, it becomes its own entity, still owned and overseen by the Recorders Association, but it's separate entity. That's basically the.
So it's cleaning up some of the administrative relationship between local recorders and the association, that type of thing?
Right.
Okay, all right. And I know Ed reviewed it as well. He had no comments, he had no issues with it, so.
Yeah, I saw that email.
Okay.
Yeah. Good.
So it's good. Supervisors, any questions for Karen?
No.
No.
Pretty clear cut.
Okay, very good.
Good. So I ask that you sign it, and then I can record it and send it on to Iowa Land Records.
All right.
So it's out the record.
Very good. Karen, thank you. Is there a motion on this resolution?
Make motion we approve resolution 2021-78.
Second.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye, very good. Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
All right, next, we have a discussion, Marion County Zoning Commission request, ordinance session. This sounds formal, Missy.
Correct. So I have Mr. Terpster here. He is the
Welcome.
zoning commission chairperson. And it was actually discussion that Alan and I had and the commission had. We're getting ready to, and I've already made some drafts of ordinance changes, getting input from Tyler's office, Jake's office, gonna work with MPO, but the commission feels, and that's why we're presenting a letter, that it's important that we at least have a representative from the Board of Supervisors before we start spending the time and efforts to draft changes. Some of them are more significant than others, and they just feel like having a representative would be beneficial.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add?
Only.
Do we have our portable mic?
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry, we're all electronic now, so we've got to use mics and all kinds of stuff now.
I've been with the commission a few years, and my time works back to the, you'll recall, hog confinement days. That was quite an effort on the commission's part. Turned out to be, the matter was really removed from our hands as far as zoning goes. We see similar strategic questions involved if needing changes to the ordinance now. And our thought is, hey, at least try and be efficient and don't waste too much time by having some idea of where the county would like to be with some of these changes before we start putting ink on paper and sending suggestions.
Right. Very good, sir. Thank you. So Missy, summarize, these are working group sessions
Correct.
with the zoning commission and a representative of the board of supervisors.
Yes.
Kind of lay out where we want to go.
Correct.
I think it's a great phrase, strategically with our ordinances as we move forward.
I mean, we have to keep up with ordinances as in, with any other ordinances, the ever-changing times. And in the 20 years I've been here, there's, you just constantly see we're building different things where we have to be aware of potential issues and how do we make things flow better. I mean, that's where Tyler's got some recommendations. I know I've talked with Jake about some, how do we make things flow better, smoother, work better for the public, work better for us. So
Okay. Very good.
that's our goal.
Do you have tentative dates established for this?
I do not, because I also, as I discussed, we've got Andrew Collins here from MPO, and we're looking to, as I drafted some of these changes, I've done months of research looking at other counties. Some of this stuff is very, I guess, new, including an energy overlay district. I was working with, felt like it's time to reach out to somebody with more expertise in some of these areas than, what we can draft. So I would say we're probably looking at, get that in place, I don't know, realistically January probably to start.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically probably January, because December gets into crazy time and we can kind of get everything lined out, and so that's,
Okay.
I would say that's realistic.
So what you need from us, you just need a representative. We don't want to have these be official board of supervisor meetings. It would be more effective if we have a representative come back to the board and report on.
I mean, ultimately,
the
that's your
progress of the
decision,
committee.
that is, yeah, I mean, if we have all the board members, then everyone has to be
Sure.
an open board meeting, so.
Sure. No, I think that would be more efficient. I think that's a good suggestion, Missy. So, board?
Yep, couple things, Missy. Do you meet monthly? How do you guys, or is it just whenever you're needing it?
This is actually, I think, what we've talked and what has worked best in the past is these work sessions will be separate from our standard board meetings.
Okay.
Okay.
Just so that, we'll do work sessions, I don't know that do you have any thoughts, Andrew, as timeline? I mean, how many work sessions we're gonna need to?
Yeah. So I think the timeline really just depends on how much we want to tackle. So if we're gonna tackle everything, it's gonna take a little bit longer. I could see with any resolution changes, as you all know, it can take time, especially when you have public input that's required and you have a lot of different input that's being sought. So this could stretch into the summer, depending on everything that's involved and meeting all the official recording, changes to the ordinance, you have to do readings and all that
Sure.
stuff. So it's not gonna be a quick process, but it has to be thoughtful as well.
Yeah.
Realistically, I guess, Andrew, question, and I think that's what they're asking, will we have the representative involved in all of the work sessions, or will we get direction and then the zoning commission will move forward to come up with a plan and back to the?
I think that's just dependent upon how comfortable you all feel with giving direction and then receiving input or being more hands-on. Being hands-on means there'll be less surprises later on, I think, is gonna be the big thing, is how much surprises do you want in these proposed changes?
Sure.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Okay. I was just trying to fully understand whether this was something we wanted to do at the first of the year and appoint
Sure.
somebody
Sure.
at that time, or if this was just gonna be like a short term and, you're looking at, or are you going to want somebody from here on out? That's why, for better description.
Have them now, appoint somebody. I mean, it would be helpful if we had someone appointed now. I think then we can work on getting the agreement before you guys in December, and then in January, we're ready to move forward.
And from a board standpoint, I mean, we can appoint a representative now. If schedules change and things change as we get ready to get started on this, we can certainly change that representative, so.
I would say realistically, work session wise, we're not gonna do more than probably one work session a month. I mean, it's not gonna be a,
Right.
Will these work sessions take place here?
yes, I mean, yeah.
Very good.
All right.
Any suggestions? Any volunteers?
This representative will only be involved in the work sessions, not regular.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't need another appointment. I'll volunteer for it.
Steve, you okay with that? Very good.
That's fine, yep.
All right. Is there a motion to appoint Mr. McCombs to this work group?
Yep, I make the motion to approve Mr. McCombs.
All right, I'll second that.
McCombs. Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner.
Hi.
Sometime you get to vote for yourself, Steve.
I was gonna vote no.
Very good. All right, since we voted on that, we don't have to close the discussion on that. Missy, thank you.
Keep me up to date, Missy.
I'll keep you up to date. Like I said, I'm thinking we'll get the contract with MPO together and get it to you guys in December, and then we can get going in January.
Okay, so you're up next, right?
Yeah,
Well,
All right.
Andrew, will you be providing ribeyes? Sandwiches?
We'll include it in the contract.
All right.
Well, wait a minute, I want to revisit that issue. That's,
This is a standing joke between me and Andrew.
all right. Very good, thank you. Item number 3, I'll declare the public hearing open. We have a proposed Marion County Ordinance 2021-4 rezoning some agricultural to AR ag residential. So Missy, can you give us the overview?
so this includes, we're including, parcels 06981 950, 06982 00100, and then 06983 03000. This are parcels owned on Highway S71 by Mr. Kevin Mart and his wife. And we are here today because we are currently on the 06983030000 over the 4 buildable lots per 40-acre tract. So the proposal is, as you'll see in a couple agenda items later, is they are proposing to do a subdivision of the rest of that. It's a minor subdivision of the rest of that parcel. And then currently there's been interest expressed to both the zoning office and Mr. Mart of further development of the other 2 parcels that would include a major subdivision. So therefore, why we're in the process of the rezoning, it makes sense because Mr. Mart is going to sell the whole property. So there's probably going to be future development of the 2 parcels to the
Is this
south.
just south of Coldport?
Correct.
What's-
Yep. Jessup and
Sure.
S71.
Okay.
So there, as you can see in the, from the map, there's several already rural residential properties in the area, as well as the residential subdivisions, R1 zoning, but those were all done prior to the ordinance change that requires them to rezone.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Missy. Since it's a public hearing portion, are there any comments from the public?
Was the
Tyler?
was the segment of this reclaimed?
Yes.
This? Okay.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Tyler, did you have something?
Yep, so we reviewed for potential entrance locations as well as potential future private and or public road access into any future subdivisions. One of the reasons we want to look at zoning ordinances is for this, and we made this work. It just, there's a lot of room for interpretation in our ordinances currently, and just to provide more clarity in the future. Instances like this are things we can address for how land division happens throughout the county and how we address access and that sort of thing. So, but we have reviewed it and everything is good from our department.
Okay, very good, thank you. Are there any other public comments during the public hearing portion? Anything online? Seeing none. All right, none here. If there is none, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
All right, very good. Same ordinance topic. This is the first reading of the proposed ordinance change 2021-4, amending the zoning map from A1 agricultural to AR ag residential. Board, is there discussion or a motion to approve the first reading?
Just wondering, Missy, is there, I mean, what are we looking at for future development? I mean, how many homes could be in here then?
So this area on the future land use map is low density residential.
Okay.
And that's consistent with the area. They're looking to do, as you can see from the subdivision that we have coming up, there's gonna be 6 lots in that minor subdivision. The 2 parcels to the south, as we discussed, it's my understanding that 3 to 4 possibly, they will have to be, work with the county engineer as far as floodplain. There is floodplain on those lots. That's why it would be a major subdivision, because there's gonna have to be a road put in because of the access is very limited.
Okay.
And they'll have to get, to develop those 2 lots, they're gonna have to get back away from that floodplain area. So
Okay.
there is a portion of that that's not usable.
Thank you.
Very good.
So there's only, what, 6 lots?
There's 6 lots that they're proposing, plus the 3 lots that are already on between the 80 acres. So they sold off parcel E to Mrs. Cobb. And then, of course, Kelderman's own one of the lots, and Josh Youngblood actually has parcel B and parcel F, which were combined as 1 lot. So, as you can see from, if you're looking at the subdivision, the lot of lot 5, the line of lot 5 follows a fence line, is why it kind of goes at those angles, and then everything in lot 6, or I'm sorry, below lot 5 will go with the parcel to the south.
Good. Any other questions, board? All right, is there a motion to approve the first reading?
Make motion to approve the first reading.
Second.
Well, do I need to say 2021-4?
That's, you're fine.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye, very good. Item 5 is waiving the second and third reading and making final approval of this amendment of ordinance 2021-4. Is there a motion?
Make motion to approve ordinance 2021-4. Let's waive second and
waive
third
second.
reading. Yep,
Yeah.
and final approval.
Second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
All right. Now, resolution 2021-79 is approval of the final plat for the Mark Farm subdivision.
So, as mentioned, this is a minor subdivision because they all have direct county road access. It meets preliminary plat requirements are waived when it's a minor plat of subdivision. So the surveyor worked closely with the county engineer and the homeowner to come up with adequate locations for the driveway and potential proposed future road access.
Right.
All the lots are adequate for septic systems. This area is serviced by Marion County Rural Water, and there's adequate water lines. I do believe that the unique part of this is, from a power standpoint, it's split between REC and Mid-American. So that's something, in talking with Stan Isig from REC, that they could potentially petition the Iowa Utilities Board to be able to service the whole subdivision, but that's something the utility companies would have to work out. It just was a unique situation. This subdivision was approved by the Marion County Zoning Commission on October 26th.
Board, questions, discussion?
Is there a possibility that lot 5 could be subdivided in the future?
Well, I'm never gonna say never because it's 12 acres, but we're limited on, so in the zoning ordinance, we allow 4 driveways per 1,320 feet for new development. To split lot 5, we said I'd never say never, it's gonna be a subdivision of a subdivision lot is what it, would come down to. But size-wise,
Logistically, it'd be kind of difficult.
correct.
Okay.
Any issues with that, Steve, or are you okay?
Huh?
Are you okay with it?
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
very good. Keisha, any other questions?
No.
All right, very good. If there are no other questions, we entertain a motion approving resolution 2021-79.
Make a motion, we approve resolution 2021-79.
Second?
Ramey,
Aye?
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Missy.
I think she's still there.
Oh, yeah, you're still there. Sorry.
Thanks very much.
You bet, thank you.
Thank you.
Declare this public hearing open. This is a proposed Marion County Ordinance 2021-5, rezoning A1 agricultural to C2 highway commercial, restricted for utility purposes. Missy,
So this
it's a
currently,
mouthful.
2438 Story Drive is the proposed address of this tower. This is a 120-foot internet monopole tower that, by state code, because it's on private property, requires that it go through the rezoning process. We have similar towers within the right-of-way, and by state code, they are not required to follow zoning regulations. So this is a unique situation. As I stated, it's less than, it's a 240 by 240, so it just meets the rezone area is the fall zone of the tower.
Okay,
So it's C2 restricted for utility. There's already a sunset clause signed. When and if the tower were to come down,
sure,
then it would go back to the A1.
sure.
It meets the fall zone requirements. They did move the tower back to meet the fall zone requirement from the road, and what they're utilizing is some dead space along the edge of the field to place this tower.
Very good, thank you. This is the public hearing portion. Are there any comments from the public on this proposed change? Nothing?
This on Jim Marlin's property?
Yes,
Nothing here. Very good. If
just
there,
west of the bridge.
yeah, if there are no further comments, I would declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
I make motion, we close the public hearing.
Have you received any feedback from
We
anybody?
did have one neighbor present at the October meeting that had some reservations about having a tower located near his house. During the meeting, we did have a long discussion with one of the engineers from the tower company about the tower. He answered a lot of the questions for the neighbor. One of his questions is, obviously lighting. This tower's below 150 feet tall. They're not required by FAA to have any lighting on them. There was questions about the fencing, which were answered as an 8-foot fence with the barbed wire around the top. The only utility equipment or box is placed like 8 foot up on the tower. The property owner that had concerns of this being in his line of sight, his house is about 1,250 feet to the east.
Line of sight to what? They've answered his questions.
His questions, yeah, we went in great length that night with the engineer and with the zoning commission to answer the neighbors' questions, and I believe when they left that they were satisfied that this was not gonna be intrusive in their neighborhood due to its size, due to the fact it's not lit up. There is the railroad and a line of trees actually between their house and where this tower's gonna go. So,
I gotta say, the line of sight's not great there anyway.
so their questions were answered. I mean, obviously they knew today was the meeting and they were all notified again, so if he had further concerns, he was notified of the meeting.
Well, that's all I needed to know, Missy, was that his questions were
His
answered.
questions were answered.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Steve. Is there a motion to close public hearing?
I made the motion.
Second,
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
aye.
Ramey.
Aye. Very good. Marion County Ordinance 2021-5, which is to approve the first reading of 2021-5, amending the zoning map as we have discussed in public hearing. Board, any other discussion, questions for Missy on this? I think that's the main thing, is that everybody was notified and they knew the
Right.
public hearing was today, and
Per the ordinance, they're notified
Question.
before the zoning commission meeting and before the board of supervisors meeting. And it's
Okay.
published in the paper before both meetings.
okay, very good. Is there a motion on this item?
Yeah, I'll make motion to approve ordinance 2021-5.
First reading.
First reading, sorry.
That's all right. Steve?
Second,
All right.
McCombs.
aye.
Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Item number 9 is waiving the second and third reading and authorizing final approval, amending the zoning map and final publication of 2021-5. Is there a motion?
Make motion to approve, waive second and third reading of ordinance 2021-5.
Second,
Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
aye.
Very good. Next, we have a discussion item, same issue, but now approval of the site plan for the same item.
So, these towers are being added all over in locations where, we have little to no internet communications. And this is a 120-foot tower that's 120 feet back off of the road right away. Sits on the edge of the Marlins field. I believe it's 250 feet from the railroad. Meets all the setback requirements. There is a building shown partially in the rezone area, but it's not in the fall zone area.
So my only question on this, Missy, is we're getting all kinds of emails and questions about broadband, internet, etc. I don't know a lot about, is this Nextlink or Next?
Next link, yep.
Don't know anything about them. What's their reach? What will this tower provide in terms of service?
He expressed that they would go out, 3 to 5 miles, I believe, is what he told us, the engineer that we had on the phone that night. They'd go out 3 to 5 miles.
So what's the population of that? Do we know?
Bussy.
It's
3 to 5 miles, does that mean, is that the
That's the line of sight as a bird, as a
That's the
crow flies.
ideal.
That's gonna be,
That's the
that's gonna
idea.
be the circumference
Circumference,
that
yeah.
it,
So,
that it covers, the radius.
I
that it
know
covers.
from being connected to one of these towers at my home, the tower's probably 5 miles as the crow flies, but we have great reception. We used to have 3, now we have like 200. So it makes a big difference when you're in areas that has very low
Yeah.
internet connection.
Well, I think the thing that I'm just
Yeah,
curious about is that I've not heard of this company, and every other company that comes to us is asking for part of our ARPA money.
Right.
And so they've evidently figured out a way to make this work profitably, or so they don't need
They're based out of Texas.
funds.
We had them on the phone.
That's great.
No, I agree. That's,
And they're working, yeah, with the broadband, with the government and the broadband push to get reception out there.
So in order to get an area saturated, we'd have to have one every 3 to 5 miles?
I believe that one of the engineers is on from,
Is Manny is he one of the engineers?
yes.
Okay. Sir? Manny? That's all I can see on the screen, so please, if you have a comment.
It's just not working apparently.
Did he hear me?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure he did.
I'm not hearing him. All right. Is he on mute?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you. Missy, is there any more discussion on this item?
No.
I should say that, so the access to this tower is provided by easement. They've got a 20-foot easement, a 5-foot utility easement to the tower off of Story Drive.
Okay.
I guess I do have a question. Why are they seeking, private ground versus right of way? And that's maybe something he can answer later, but, I don't have a problem with it. It's just interesting
In the
that,
discussion we had with the engineer previously, I'm not sure that they were aware by state code that they could place it in the right of way and not have to go through the process, and they'd already signed in with the contract with the homeowner.
Outside, the office, they can hear Manny talking.
Yeah.
Just,
Oh,
we can't hear it here.
we just can't hear it here?
Yeah.
Okay,
I just asked him to ask in the direct message if he wanted to.
okay.
that is interesting. What are they
Do you want me to log into my computer?
So how does one get access to this great thing?
You'd be a next link
So you-
customer.
So you pay a monthly fee
Yep.
or what?
just like
Probably have
you.
to have somebody come out and see if from your home, whether they can line of sight, see that.
They'll have the same, so it's like a 3-foot in diameter dish on top, which is similar to the Windstream, and they
Okay.
come out and climb up on your house and see if you've got a line of sight to their tower.
I was looking to see if I got a no, but I didn't get a no.
Manny said, yes, we are looking to place a handful of towers throughout the county.
Oh. Okay. Very good.
All right.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to learn. Manny, I know you can't hear me, but maybe someday we'd like to learn more about Next Link.
He can hear you.
He can hear, we just can't hear him.
in the
Okay,
room.
so just when your schedule permits, it'd be great. Very good. If there's no other discussion, is there a motion to approve this addition to the site plan?
Yeah, make motion to approve the site plan for Next Link Tower site.
Second,
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
aye.
Ramey,
Aye, very good. Thank you.
Thank you for all your time.
Missy, thank you.
Thank you, Missy.
Appreciate it. All right, Tyler, you've got 5 minutes to go through all yours. Because I'm looking at item 13. Jason gets impatient. He starts to fall, he starts to nod off.
Gotta go.
All right. So first we have resolution 2021-76, which is an award of a contract for the replacement of bridge on Story Drive. Tyler.
Thank you. And Jason gets impatient. Have we ever heard him talk?
Oh!
Wow, daggers thrown.
Okay, so, this award is
He'll be
for
leaving
a.
shortly.
Sorry.
This resolution is for the award of a federal aid swap bridge project. And if you remember, this was a bridge that we attempted to use federal dollars for 5 or 6 years ago to construct a new road alignment as an alternative to closing the road. And after a public hearing, the residents, kind of changed our mind on that about, what to spend money on. We were looking at $400,000 for a road upgrade and more than that in federal aid match to reconstruct a bridge using federal dollars.
Did we discuss a low water crossing there too also?
We did, and it was not an appropriate site, for low water crossing design standards, so we did not choose to go that route either. So recently, we've, been receiving additional funds, from some dollars from the federal government, to our highway bridge program over the last couple of years. So basically, we've received about $300,000 in additional funding that we were not anticipating. No one at the DOT was anticipating either. So those dollars, coupled with the fact that they changed our accumulated balance restrictions, so we're trying to save to do the T15 Flagler Bridge, but they reduced our our savings, so we can't save up as many years allocation. So we have to spend those dollars down. So that, coupled with the additional funding, we were able to squeeze in a couple of other bridges, and this was one that we previously were not able to fund. So, and it is in need of repair. It's been posted for 3 tons for a number of years, and I think since 1985 it's been posted at 10 ton or less. So it's one of our last open pony truss bridges. So it'll be a drastic improvement. I mean, we were looking at what, Bill, like 3.5 mile detour, dead end, basically, is what we were creating. So this is a good replacement for the area. We had 4 bidders on the project. The low bidder was 7% below our latest engineer's estimate and 6% above our budgeted amount. So we had 2 bidders below and 2 bidders above our estimate, which is right where we want to be. And I recommend Herberger Construction, who is the low bidder, be awarded the project. The contract, it has 90 working days and a late start date of June of 2022.
Okay, very good. Board, any questions, discussion?
Tyler, I have one question. So how many years can you save for? When you said that changed?
I think 4 now.
Okay.
And
Was it 5 or was it 6? Was it
6?
Okay. I don't have anything.
Steve?
No. I'm good.
I think this makes good sense. Glad we're doing it. Is there a motion to approve resolution 2021-76?
I move to approve resolution 2021-76.
I'll second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
Thank you. Next is resolution 2021-77, another award of contract to PCC, or for the PCC patching of Highway G28.
Yeah, so a couple years ago, we looked at the highways that we could feasibly tackle with our own crews and patch. This was not one of them, just due to the sheer number and volume of patching out there. G28 is a road in our 5-year program that is currently unfunded. Hopefully, with the passing of the new transportation bill or infrastructure bill, there's some additional funding to come in to rehabilitate this road completely. In the meantime, and ahead of most overlay projects, we typically do patching anyway. So we have a nearly $500,000 project to do concrete patching on Highway G28 ahead of any potential overlay project in 2 to 3 years. We did apply for a grant through Marion Miller Meek's office, and that was contingent on passing of the infrastructure bill. I will be following up with that soon to see if we are still a potential candidate for any grant funding. It was in the ballpark of $2 million, so hopefully we are. If not, hopefully just through new allocations as part of the infrastructure bill, we'll have additional funding to be able to overlay that road and rehabilitate it. So we received bids, and we had 5 bidders on this project. The low bidder was 14% below our latest estimate, 22% below budgeted amounts. 2 bidders below, 3 above. The contract is for 40 40 working days with a late start of September 2022. So I recommend award to Midwest Contractors Inc. out of Cedar Falls. We have not worked with them recently. It's been at least a decade, probably since Jay worked with them last. But basically, he said the contractor we typically get had broke off from this company a number of years ago, so it's kind of one and the same. So again, recommend award to Midwest Contractors.
I got a question. Why is the estimate so low, you think? Below what you know, 14% below?
Typically, we only get 2 to 3 bidders on a project like this. They've never bid. We were much closer with the contractors we normally bid with, or that normally bid on our projects. We were also anticipating a little more inflation naturally, which we didn't see on either of these projects.
Right.
Concerns?
Nope. Just wanted his perspective of it.
Okay. Steve?
Nope.
All right. Is there a motion on resolution 2021-77?
Yeah, I make motion to approve resolution 2021-77.
Second.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Very good, thank you. Road Department update. Tyler?
Yeah, so I already mentioned the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, so that was recently passed by the House, I think. And so there's some more information coming out now by NACE, the National Association of County Engineers, and we expect some input from the DOT on what does this actually mean for cities and counties and local governments. But just to highlight what we do know, there will be some new programs, competitive grant programs for off-system bridges. That's not something we've typically seen. We were able to do some off-system bridges when we started swapping dollars, but not something we've typically seen from federal aid dollars. There's $3 billion of additional funding for rehabilitation and replacement of bridges and culverts. This is nationwide. And then there's a 5-year renewal of the current transportation bill with 20% increase in funding levels. So this is the dollars that we get from through CERCA. That's about $160,000 for our STBG program and $150,000 for bridges. Again, doesn't go a long ways when we only get $400,000 for roads and we're getting another $150. Okay, we can overlay maybe a couple miles.
Are these numbers based on what you feel the infrastructure bill is going to be putting into this fund?
That, according to NACE, that's where this information is coming from.
That's what they're estimating.
Well, I'm wondering if we're all gonna wind up paying it for it in a mileage tax.
I thought I had a note here, but there was something in there about no borrowing.
Yeah, and they're gonna, they've got taxes in there for stock holdings of, they're ultra rich. They got all kinds of stuff in there that they think will pay for it. But we'll talk the politics of this at another date.
Yeah. So, like I said, we don't know the details of it. I'm sure there'll be, gosh, what's it take, a couple of years to get through? How that stuff gets.
Before they hatch.
Yeah, it'll take a while for everything to get sorted out. And,
I mean, the fact of the matter is, Tyler, if you look at it from a broad macro standpoint, the U.S. infrastructure probably needs what? Probably 8x, maybe 9x to get it back up to where it should be. So they whittled this thing down to be, we'll add another couple $100,000 to some different projects over here. Yeah.
And competitive programs typically don't bode well for counties of our size.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
The DOT is saying that they would like to swap all additional bridge funding and as much as possible road funding, but it's unlikely that they would be able to swap all of the additional funding for roads. So they would either do all bridge and a portion of road funding or none of the road funding. And the reason is because bridge projects are typically more complicated, so taking the federal aid aspect out of bridges is more beneficial for locals than it is on a road project. Now that's just what we heard from our District 5 engineer.
Right.
Okay, locally, we have finished up the T14 paving of shoulders north of Pella. This is a $500,000 TSIP grant that we received for safety improvement. We finished up the TSIP grant for installing 8 flashing red beacons on stop signs at 5 different locations. The 40th overlay and reconstruction has been completed north of Pleasantville. We have finished the earthwork portion of Kennedy Street Bridge, and I think the contract will be done with all the bridge steel, and then our crews will pour the deck next week. So that bridge should be open in 2 to 3 weeks. 25th is the next bridge project, so this will be 25th south of Highway 92. They'll be starting that on Thursday. And then we anticipate Story Drive, the project you just awarded, to start fairly soon, probably by the end of the year, although we don't have any official word from the contractor until after award. But they're working on another project, and their staff is telling us they're staying here, so all winter work. So that means Story Drive is probably gonna happen over the winter. And then G28 patching, hopefully that project kicks off early in the spring. We will be doing another phase of brush cutting along Highway S45 and along Long Lane on G76. So this is probably one of the last years we'll be doing brush cutting with a contractor along our paved routes. It's been very beneficial. We can't rent equipment for they have 2 guys and a piece of equipment out there. So for the amount of work that they get done. So that project has been ongoing for the last 3 years, and this should be the last.
You don't think you'll need it for the future then?
Well, hopefully we're making the right-of-ways more maintainable. That's one of the huge big parts of our IRBM program, is to make right-of-ways more sustainable, more maintainable, which ultimately results in a safer right-of-way.
Right.
So that's the goal. We're taking efforts once the brush is cut to prevent any regrowth. Contractors treating stumps, or we have a spray program for growing season after to treat any of the smaller brush and noxious weed regrowth. And S45 is a good example. We're asking them to take a little extra care so we can mow the entire right-of-way in the future. So not only are we going to spray it, but we will be able to mow what we previously were not able to mow due to the size of the trees.
Okay.
Departmentally, our Junction 92 project is moving forward. My plan is to give a formal proposal to you in December at a board meeting. We're currently soliciting architectural design for our main shop. We're meeting with a contractor this week about our cold storage buildings. And so just tentatively, the main shop construction is slated for FY23 and our office for FY24. Our guys have just completed last week the fall maintenance rock. So kudos to those guys. I think a few months ago our rock haulers were in here and we recognized them for their efforts. A month ago we were 2 weeks behind schedule, and last week we finished 3 days after our planned schedule. So we really made up a lot of ground. A lot of that was attributed to taking delivery of our new trailers, which is very beneficial. We can haul an extra 500 ton a week, which is a 12% increase.
Wow.
And so over the course of a year, these new trailers will save us about 3 weeks. So we have 6 guys that our crew supervisors can reallocate to other projects and other duties every single year.
Wow, that's very good.
They will pay themselves off very quickly. Our crews have been getting snow equipment ready. Salt sheds are full. A couple weeks ago, we took the deliveries of our last allocations of salt. We have contract for in-season salt. There's been some discussion about shortages, largely due to trucking. We haven't experienced any of that yet. I think we're sitting really good. Our sheds are stuffed about as full as they've ever been. And what we have contracted, our supplier does not see any issues getting that in season if we have to take any in season. This week we're going up to check on the construction of our newest plow truck. It will be the first plow truck we have with a wing. It will go on Highway T15, which is our busiest county road. So that'll be speed up operations, again, on that busy route. We will use that truck hopefully to not only speed up operations on T15, but also winging, when we have blowing and drifting on other routes, just because the truck will be that much faster than a motor grader for winging things back. So, a few months ago, I came to you with an employee recognition program that Mike and I had talked about. We wanted to recognize employees that, within our department, that basically exemplify either their position or the expectations that we have for employees. One of them is not here, but today I have our 3 crew supervisors, Jeff Moon in the yellow shirt and Bill Bauer. Jeff is our bridge and pavement crew supervisor, and Bill is over the West District. And so the reason I wanted to bring these guys in is because they really do exemplify what I'm asking for employees. Over the last couple of years, we have had very little rain, and that really takes a toll on our staff because we don't have any breaks. They don't get any downtime, and if you know me and they know me well, how much I push them to do things. And last year we initiated Focus 2020, which some may think was a corny program, but these 3 crew supervisors, Dwight Kellerman would be the one that's not here today. He's our East District crew supervisor. But they really took that program under their wings and tried to make the best of it. And so because we haven't had a lot of downtime over the last couple of years, and these guys have just kept moving along and met expectations, I wanted to recognize them today for that. 2020 we faced daily changes related to COVID.
Yes.
Staffing was here, it wasn't here, 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there. It was a revolving door of COVID cases and different policies we put into place. And, we were parking our personal vehicles outside the shop and our equipment and going from one to the next. No interaction. It's already a long day to sit in the motor grader for 10 hours and then never get to talk to anyone. Kind of hard on people, but these guys adapted to the changes. They communicated things effectively to all the guys. When we put people in positions of crew supervisor, we make sure that they understand, you may not agree with what we're saying, but you got to put positive spin on things. We want things to be well received, and they definitely did that. So we modified operations and equipment to get jobs done during COVID, during a dry year. And one of the things that Dwight's crew actually came up with was a device that allowed them to put culverts together without having 2 people standing next to each other. And I submitted that for the Iowa Better Mousetrap Award competition, and they did receive 3rd place last year.
Very good.
That's
And
awesome.
we also won national recognition for that device as well.
Excellent. Excellent.
So in 2020, these guys completed 7 miles of road regrade. That's fairly substantial. It typically takes us a week minimum. Even on a mile road, if there's cleanup work, it's easily going to take a week, but many of these projects take 2 to 3 weeks at a time with anywhere from 6 to 10 employees. So there's a lot of coordination there. Jeff's crew, they did over 60 patches on our busiest road on T15 last year, and with next to no complaints. You hardly knew they were out there. The traffic signals make a big difference, but these guys got in, got out, knocked out 60 patches before we even knew they were out there. We completed nearly 308 work orders in that fiscal year. That's unprecedented. Normally we do about 150. But you remember I said it was dry. These guys worked, and we didn't have anything to do. We couldn't go to the shop. We couldn't do this, couldn't do that. Everybody was at work working as hard as they could. And because it was dry, we had no downtime to work on equipment. Provided some challenges sometimes, but we really got a lot of work done, and our work orders show that. Year to date, we've done in a little over 4-month period, we've done over 100 work orders this year as well. And I looked through these work orders and what that means, and many of those were regrades. That's a work order that gets done once every 2 to 3 weeks. So not only are we doing work orders, but we're they're constantly allocating anyone who has downtime to go cut brush, go do this, go do that. All the little jobs, they're making the best use of all their employees. So currently in 2021, we've completed over 8 miles of road regrade. This was the most we've ever done since I've been here. Next year, my goal is 12.
So you did 7?
Yeah.
You did 7, now you did 8, and now you're looking at 12? Is that?
Yeah, our goal this year was actually 10, but we didn't quite get there. But some of the roads we did were a little more challenging.
Spare time can help.
Hey, this is at their request. They told me which ones. I just said, all right, we'll put them on the
That's
list.
wonderful, because it's helping significantly. Yeah.
And, like during COVID, we had staffing issues. This year we have had 9 staffing changes. We've had 2 military deployments that these guys have had to contend with, as well as 4 new hires that we've had to bring on and change. So 9 position changes on, when you have 10 guys, or Jeff's got 4 or 5 guys, when you get 2 or 3 different guys on a crew that haven't worked with your staff, just getting them acquainted, getting them familiar with the job, the personalities, that sort of thing. That they really took that under their wing also. And lastly, what I'd like to say is every day, these guys, this is one of the hardest jobs we have in our department, as crew supervisor. Every day they deal with administrative duties, they deal with property owners, they deal with the traveling public, utilities, the mud, the dust, the rain, the snow, the ice, and the grease. Every day they're out there doing this. They're managing anywhere from 5 to 12 people. They're keeping the public happy, and they're doing what we ask of them. I never hear the bad. I always hear the good about these guys. We get calls in our office, but
I'd just like to add that I've personally worked closely with all 3 of these guys that, that are, well, 2 that are here and the white. I mean, I have had nothing but good to say about all these guys the whole time I worked there. I mean, I wasn't easy to work with sometimes either, but.
What?
But these guys are a credit to Marion County. I totally agree.
yep.
Yeah.
Like you said, we hear the good. Rarely do I hear the bad about these guys. It's always about how good a job they did on this project, how well they interacted with me as a homeowner. These guys multitask and they reprioritize every day. When I do get a call in the office about something that someone's upset about, tell them how many times we have to reprioritize through the day. And if I do it 10 times, they're doing it 40.
Yeah.
They take on new tasks and new initiatives that Mike and I come up with. Sometimes they're just dreams, but we give it to these guys to try. And they answer when I call. Jeff, I just got a call from the Sheriff's Department a couple weeks ago. Called Jeff, he's already out there.
Wow.
3 in the morning, I'm looking out my window, call Bill, say, want to go check these roads? He's like, Dwight and I are already out here. Here's what's going on, here's what we're gonna do. So, thank you guys.
Awesome. I would like to say thank you on behalf, as a Board of Supervisor, sometimes we get calls, but we don't get very many. And it's because of you guys and your excellence. So thank you. We appreciate that. Yes, Lisa.
I would just like to add that, remember that in 2020, we had no lost time accidents either. So they're not only doing their work, but they're doing their work safely. So just wanted to add that.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate you. We do.
Very good, guys. Tyler, thank you for that. I think this is one of those areas that, for all of our staff, Tyler, I appreciate what you did as a leader, and you gentlemen lead as well. Leadership is about influence, and it flows from the top down. And Tyler, you do a wonderful job with this road department. You gentlemen do an excellent job in making sure that Marion County has the best road system in the county. when I get comments from other supervisors about Marion County, they say, how do you get your roads done this way? How can you keep them this way? So you guys do a phenomenal job for us. We appreciate it very much. Thank you.
How come we didn't meet your goal?
And then there's Steve.
Never mind him.
All right. Is there a motion to close discussion on this item?
Yes. Motion to close discussion on road department update. Thank you.
Second, thank you guys.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye, very good. Thank you. We have a Class E liquor license renewal for New Star. This is a previous agenda item that's back. I think we were waiting on something from
Something.
environmental. Did we get that?
Subject side.
Yeah, that was all taken care of.
Okay, we got that from Bridget? Okay.
Yeah.
Sheriff, any issues?
No, I think, we'll just continue to move, so as long as I get that fixed.
Board, any questions?
As long as everything's taken care of, I'm fine.
Okay,
No, I've
good.
seen the email from Bridget, said it had been taken care of.
Okay, good. Is there a motion to, on this action item?
Make motion to approve the Class E liquor license for New Star.
Second,
McCombs,
aye.
Ramey,
Aye,
Johnner,
Aye.
very good. Resolution 2021-80 is the Marion County Employee Holiday Schedule. We're doing this a little out of order, but I think we have to get ahead of the curve here to get this published and out. Lisa?
Thank you. I'm bringing this forward today. We've had a lot of questions, or I've had a lot of questions about this year's New Year's Day holiday. Handbook states that if the holiday falls on Saturday, we observe it on Friday. If it falls on Sunday, we observe it on Monday. So technically speaking, the employees will get New Year's Day, will observe that on Friday, December 31st, 2021, because of the way the holiday falls, okay? So a lot of people were asking if we would get Friday off, would we get Monday off, what would we get? So that's how the calendar works. So that is one reason. The other is up in the air. Will the employees be allowed to be off on Martin Luther King Day or not? Last year, if you remember, the board approved for all employees to have Martin Luther King Day as an official holiday in 2021. So you'll see that I have added that. If that's not the intent, I can change that. And then just following up through all the other holidays. I know public health likes to have this done sooner rather than later because they're already planning clinics 3 months out. So.
And I think those departments that have a larger, staffing, I think this is good, so that they
Right.
can start scheduling.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the current slate of holidays that we amended them last year.
So that would make the employees having 11 holidays
Yep.
going forward, 10 that are listed and then 1 floating
I
holiday.
don't think that's, other than our, kind of Martin Luther King, President's Day. A lot of companies would pick one or the other. We add them both. An extra day is not an issue. So, board, any questions, comments, discussion?
I don't have any issue with this.
No, I'm okay with it.
All right, is there a motion to approve Resolution 2021-80?
I move we approve resolution 2021-80, Marion County Employee Holiday Schedule.
Second.
Ramey,
Aye,
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
very good, thank you, Lisa. All right, next we have disposition of Marion County property at 113, 117 South 3rd Street. So before we do this, just want to make sure for clarity's sake, we're not talking about entertaining any bids. This is a board discussion on whether we would like to dispose, if we'd like to sell this property. And if so, then what's the process? Because if we were to sell it, we would have to go through a public bidding process to do that. So that's what today's discussion will revolve around. So who would like to kick that off?
I'll kick it off, that's fine. I know it's been brought up and discussed several times through the board. And we've had, I think, each of us have had different people reach out to us and show that they may be interested in the lot, depending upon what we do. So I think it is a good time that we discuss the future of this, and hopefully maybe we can decide whether it is fully something that we will continue to, we want to sell, or we're going to keep. And I feel that, and I think I've stated it before, it's concrete now. That's not city code. It shouldn't be concrete. Or sorry, it's gravel right now, and it shouldn't be gravel. It needs to be concrete if it's kept, or it needs to be green space or a building of some sort. And yeah, that's kind of where I feel about it.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Keisha. Steve, any thoughts?
I don't have any problem selling it as long as we go through the correct process.
So that's great.
I know we have an issue with the shared wall. I don't know if that's been identified or been, have we figured that out?
Well, yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that, because you raise a great point, Steve. And Keisha, your thoughts on how you want to treat that lot are well received. So if we want to sell the ground, similar to what we did when we sold the county home, the process would be we would, at a future board meeting, have a closed meeting and establish what our price range for that. When we sold the county home, we established a minimum price. This is what we wouldn't go lower than this. That's what we want for the lot. Establish that in a closed meeting, and then you go out and start entertaining public bids for the ground, which would include the shared wall. So whoever would buy that property would then get the shared wall.
Okay.
Because right now that's ours, or part of that is ours.
Right.
So
But we have to be upfront about that.
yeah, I think yes, that's included.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
the shared wall. Yep.
But we'd have to go through that process to do that, which I'm fine with. If there's a consensus among the board to initiate that process, then we'd have to establish what the price is, and when we would want to entertain bids, and just set that up just like we did when we sold the county home.
Well, I think
Follow that same process.
Keisha has done some homework on that. I think we have some market value on that, don't we, Keisha?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So we kind of got some numbers in mind.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a building on that we need to discuss, I feel. Chris has got, the assessor's office has got a vehicle in it. Does your staff, Chris, is that correct too?
Yes. Oh, hold on a second. Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
So we've got two vehicles parked in that space, snow moving equipment, salt storage for courthouse and courthouse grounds. I'm in no opposition to disposing of the property at all. Post-COVID world, we look at our storage that we had pre-COVID, and because of COVID, now we have that storage pretty much overflowing. So my only request is that we figure out what are we gonna do with the items that we're currently storing in there, so they're not piled up in a parking lot somewhere at some point. So I think it's a great idea to dispose of the property. If it brings added value to the square, maybe for a business or something of that nature, I'm in full support of it. I just wanna make sure that we don't lose storage space that is increasingly valuable to the county. For that reason alone, that's my only issue. Just make sure that we have adequate storage place going forward. So some form of replacement if we're wanting to dispose of that property.
Sure. No, thank you. So we'd have some logistical things we'd have to work through from that, but that's not a showstopper for that. We definitely want to return property to the tax rolls if it benefits the square and benefits the town and the community. There's no question about that. So if you're all of like mind, then we can proceed to set that up as a closed meeting on our next agenda. Establish value, establish the parameters for sale, and bidding processes that would go along with that. So that would be the next step.
Well, we have to figure out how we're gonna address Chris's concerns. You know, I'd like to know that answer before I,
Yeah, but why would we need to know that? I mean, if, Chris, where would you need to put this stuff?
Well, I could place it anywhere.
I mean, if we had another Morton building out here, would that matter?
We'd be fine. I'm not saying we have to have something on the square.
Yeah.
We can easily, typically when we're doing snow removal and salting parking lots and driveways, sidewalks, we're usually going back to the shop to get salt anyway.
yeah, I didn't mean it had to be on the square, I just.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you, Steve. As long as we have something where we can, you know, place that stuff. And vehicles actually are probably my primary concern. So we keep the mule with the snow blade on it. We've got 2 vehicles parked inside that shed. Anybody that moves snow would tell you at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. while you're out pushing stuff, the last thing you want to have to do is play musical chairs with a parking lot full of cars. So ideally, if the vehicles are staying on county property, I want them under roof. So that is a big deal for time. I mean, there's 3 of us that push snow for all of our property, and you know, 20 minutes here and 20 minutes there moving cars around is kind of a pain.
Sure. Absolutely.
Chris, I have a question for you in regards to the future of that lot. There is some infrastructure correctly underneath it, so it would be something that whoever would, you know, if we kept or purchase, it'd be beneficial just to put like concrete versus putting a basement, or is there, I need your perspective on that.
Yeah, there'd be no way to physically dig a basement there due to the infrastructure. It's primarily fiber optic that runs through that lot.
Okay.
And obviously we could have the fiber optic move, or the potential owner of that property, the new owner, could have that moved, but you're talking about building on a slab at that point.
Yeah, that's all stuff we'll have to talk about.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I had spoke to Jake about this and the process, and there is, I mean, we do have a closed session on this agenda if we wanted to discuss and go forward on that.
Mm-hmm. So, Steve, you open to that?
Yeah.
So is that what you stuck that on there for?
Mm-hmm.
To talk about that?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
I think
gonna
the
need to
people
get
have,
lunch.
the people have, I mean, we've had, you know, some people reach out to us, and I know we've discussed it. I don't know if this is the 3rd time it's been on the agenda, but I feel like we need to at least proceed or keep it. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, but we can talk about that in closed session then.
Okay.
Very good. So there seems to be some desire to at least have this discussion. So essentially all we need to do is close discussion on this item.
I'll make motion to close discussion.
Second?
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye. Very good. We will revisit. Cross Mental Health Region Fund Balance Distributions. Rachel, are you on? Is she on?
Oh, I missed that on my packet. I didn't see it, yeah.
Rachel,
Rachel's there, but I can't hear.
are we having a set? This is gonna make this hard, like
Yeah.
impossible. Rachel?
Can't
I
hear.
can't hear.
We're not hearing her.
Can you
You
call
say
her?
that in the microphone.
Yeah,
Mark,
Yeah,
can you tell her we can't hear her?
yeah.
yeah,
we do.
Rachel, we can't hear you. So,
Is there anything I can try to do, Jeff?
Can she call in?
well, we're stumped on the technology side, Rachel, hold on.
Yeah, they can hear her on Zoom.
do you want me to, can I zoom from my phone?
We need to have a redundant plan for
Well, as
this.
I say, the problem is it gonna,
Can she call in?
her talking and then coming through, is it gonna like be the echo?
It's on.
Let's just give her one.
Emily does on hers.
See if you can hear her there.
Rachel,
our connection here then.
Can you turn your volume up on it? Okay, Rachel? Go ahead.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry I didn't come in person, but I have strep and I didn't want to go all to strep, so anyways.
Well, we appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys were able to receive, I sent late yesterday to Renee kind of a write-up that we had talked about at the cross-board meeting last month. It was a summary of the proposal. So those handouts, I can email the board
They can hear.
electronic as well if you guys
I'm
want
assuming
that.
they
And
can hear
really
out there, we just
more
couldn't hear.
supporting information for the projects that Tiffany has showed you guys last meeting. I'm not sure what you guys are looking for. If you want me to go through each proposal, we would love from our perspective some direction from the board on which projects you want us to pursue, or if you want us to pursue all of them. We do have some people that are asking, hey, you asked us if we were interested in a project, is the project moving forward? So what, do you want me to go through them one by one?
Board?
I'm just reviewing them right now for a second, if you'll give me just a quick second, since we just got this morning.
Some additional comments about some of them. So I think last time Tiffany may have told you guys that we wanted to explore some of the ideas further. So we've done some of that in the last few weeks since our cross-board meeting. So one specifically is the embedded social worker with law enforcement. And there's a couple regions and counties doing this in the state. I've reached out to them and talked to them. I actually talked with Chief Tupper of Marshalltown Police yesterday asking about their program. And so he shared some information with me. I've talked with the South Central region who funds a social worker in the Wapello County Police Department, well, Wapello Sheriff's Department and the Ottumwa PD. They've shared that person. So what you're looking at with something like that is you really need someone to provide clinical oversight if you're using someone with a bachelor level social work degree. So that is an option if we're willing to look at funding. As we're talking about these proposals, you can keep in mind we want the money before July 1 of 22. We do have potential to encumber funds for year 23. So if the region would be able to pay the salary and benefits for a position like that for the rest of this fiscal year and encumber for next fiscal year, we could cover that. I have asked the state if that is an option. The rules for encumbrance are still in draft form at the state level, so they can't give me a hard yes or no on that yet. And then the discussion turned to, would there be other funds beyond next fiscal year to continue that? Would there be consideration of the money? I'm not sure when that runs out to help fund that position. We could look at grant funding, and then we could also look at how do we build that in the future into the region budget if it's, I think it would be successful, and how we can get that to move forward. When I talked with Chief Tupper yesterday, he said they average 5 calls a month with their social worker.
Say that again, Rachel. What'd you say?
Rachel, can you go back and cover that again, that social worker comment?
Yeah, they average about 45 calls per month. They've been doing this since February, and they've already served 435 people. About a third of their calls are mental health related, a third are homeless situations, and then the remaining are family conflict, domestic violence, juvenile interactions. I think that one is definitely worth considering. We also have the nonprofit project. So Kim and I have met a couple times and corresponded about that. Her and I talked yesterday, and we're still in the place of what that would look like. So looking at like the gaps in care, two areas that we identified would be our ACT program in the of having a forensic ACT team. If that would be something the nonprofit could pick up. A cost on something like that could be, we funded our current ACT team for 3 years at about $1.5 million. So you would look at a startup cost maybe around $250,000 or so for something like that. And then the other piece that we talked a little bit more about was housing, potentially a permanent supported housing program. Right now, the region does fund one at $185,000 a year. I think that predominantly most of those people live in Marion County. So if we looked at adding maybe another 100,000, something like that, that could serve, if you look at 10 people living in 2-bedroom apartments at fair market value rent, it's expensive, but it is that kind of first building block to stability for a lot of people. We had an individual that, it took 3 years to get to stability, to get employed, maintain housing tenure, maintain sobriety. It's all those pieces together. It doesn't happen fast, but I think both of those are areas that we could look at with partnering with the nonprofit.
Very good, Rachel, thank you. I guess, as far as the nonprofit goes, the concept, we've had some discussions with Sheriff as well on taking care of the involuntary folks that we get and a place to take those. And I know, Jason, you were going to talk with the folks in Clive on that. Any thoughts on that piece?
Right now, it sounds like Rachel had conversations with them. I did too. It still sounds like.
You got it.
Thanks. Sounds like they still want to reject people. They still want the ability to say no for those most acute patients, which defeats the purpose of why we need to do it. So we're still in discussion with it, but from Rachel's conversations, it sounded like they still wanted to pick and choose. They were a little bit more optimistic, I guess, with me on the fact, that's something we'd be interested in, but I think the devil's in the details. So we still have to figure out, because ultimately that the people we would deal with 90% of the time, that 5 or 10% of the population, that we have to have a place for them to go.
Right.
This is a brand new state-of-the-art facility that still, when somebody's in a mental health crisis, wants to be able to say, no, we don't want to help you.
Right.
And I just don't think that's acceptable. So.
Right. No, I appreciate that.
I think having the embedded social worker could be a piece of that puzzle. So that person could do an on-site assessment to determine, does this person need to go inpatient? And then you would know direction to pivot, right? You would know, we're taking them to Luther emergency department
Yeah, I guess, and Sheriff has more knowledge on this than I do, but just from my discussions with both of you, isn't the immediacy of the issue so profound that you've got to get them somewhere? Do you have time to do that kind of assessment when you're dealing with your kind of issues in law enforcement, Jason? I don't know.
Well, I'm more than willing to still have discussions about the embedded social worker, but it's not going to take care of the problem that we still have on getting someone that will accept them. So, I'm more than willing to still sit down with Rachel and you guys and talk about it, but the immediate need of getting someone from the Walmart parking lot to a facility where they will take care of them and not stuck in a local ER for days or weeks.
The social worker's not gonna make that call.
It's not gonna get us somebody on the ultimate, it's the receiving end.
Yep.
It's not on making the decision if somebody needs to go, it's somebody on the receiving end being willing to say, yeah, we'll take that person.
So is there a desire, so Rachel, coming back to the nonprofit, and I appreciate you and Kim continuing to talk about this. I mean, the concept, again, I'm not the expert in this, but just having been involved in this for the last 8 years and talking with all of you folks, it seems to me part of our, whatever that organization is, has to solve or at least be a potential solution for some of that. If it can't do that, there are other organizations we already, supported living, supported housing, we already do some of that. And is it better we move that closer to Marion County or leave that in our current structure? I don't know the answer to that. But this immediate need to support law enforcement or judges' orders, those things seems to be the whole in this entire process. So could our nonprofit head down that road where we maybe just create our own solution for it?
If the nonprofit is able to become licensed and accredited as a psychiatric emergency department.
How do you do that?
We would need a lot. We would need to probably find a public-private partnership, kind of like Clive did, with their health system, and
So let me ask you, so it sounds like we gotta go through a regulatory process.
Yeah, it's legislatively, I think it has to start there before, because you can't keep these people without it changing legislatively.
Wait a minute, that's not what I'm asking. It sounds like to get licensed and accredited, you have to go through some type of licensure or regulatory process, so it's administrative right now. Is it something that we could put it on our plan, have the dollars come to Marion County, develop the plan, if it works, it works, if it doesn't, we're gonna give these dollars back to the state anyway. It'll stay within the cross budget. It's not like those dollars will come to Marion County. But could that be something, it's more of a, hey, this is in the works and we're gonna see how this plays out over the next 6 months, 8 months? Is it worth pursuing, I guess is what I'm asking.
I think it's worth pursuing, and I think with the new language around encumbrance that they're drafting in the rules, that gives us a potential way to, for lack of a better word, bank the money, and not scramble to spend it down so quickly, to give us time to plan. So I'm trying to get further guidance from DHS. They're not, because the rules aren't finalized, they're kind of non-committal on what they're wanting to say, but I think it does give us a pathway to say, if we have a contract in writing with the nonprofit to say, this is what we're developing over next year or 2 years, that there's a way to do that. The other piece of that is other counties have not expended their, other counties in our region haven't fully expended their allotment, so there is a little more money in play, about $200,000, maybe even a little bit more than that, that's even left in our fiscal year budget for this year. So there is some more dollars to work with, and depending on what kind of scale of size of facility you're looking at, this could benefit the whole region and not just Marion County. So I think really it's having a facility with the mentality of, we want to build a facility where we don't say no. That's kind of what we're missing, so.
So is it worth, Jason, I'll ask you, you deal with this on a fairly regular basis. Is it worth pursuing?
I think it's worth having those discussions. I mean, I don't think now is probably the time. I respect everybody's time here because it's a long thing, but even the email I got this morning, there's different things, and whether it be the social worker, whether it be the intake, we need to look at it, but ultimately, I think you're gonna have to partner up if we wanna do something with our established hospital or somebody that's there. For us to create it from the ground up or whatever, I don't think it's gonna be reasonable, but I think if we partner with somebody that's willing to do that, that's what needs to be explored.
Okay, very good. So let's kind of keep that as a little bit of a footnote to what we're talking about here. And Rachel, when we talk about the money, we're really allocating these dollars back to Marion County to pursue a kind of a startup project to see if we can partner with a hospital get the appropriate certifications, those types of things, and not have some regulator come back to us like they've done with mental health so many times and tell us we can't do that. So we've got a lot of things eyes will have to dot when we do something like this. Fair?
Yep.
Okay, very good, thank you. Other discussion, board, on any of these items? And as far as the other items, Rachel, I'm taking you and Tiff, and I'm assuming, Jason, you're fine with the social worker part of it. There are taxpayer dollars if we can, and we gotta use it for mental health, so we gotta bring it back to us somehow and expend it some way that benefits mental health projects here in Marion County. So I'm assuming those are acceptable projects and that will work in that regard. Or there are alternatives.
You're right. I was gonna say, I mean, ultimately, if you're going to do a social worker or you're looking at doing a nonprofit, I would assume you wouldn't be doing the rest of some of this stuff. I mean, I don't know how you could, because I mean, even if looking at the program that you're looking at, that's gonna take lots of dollars, so.
So what are you saying? It all goes to the nonprofit?
I mean, yeah, if that's what, I mean, we're looking at and she's trying to get more definition, that's fine. I do think it's a legislative issue. I think that's got to be changed in legislative, and I don't know what your deadline is. So I don't know if this is something that we can reasonably get put in place before your deadline.
What's the legislative fix?
What is the legislative fix?
Yeah, we've been working on this for 9 years.
I
And
understand,
the
but you can't
legislature
keep,
hasn't done anything.
but Mark, you can't keep somebody beyond their will, and we know that.
We
So
know
that's
that, but apparently there's a way we partner with hospitals, we can't.
It's through the licensing, but yeah, I think we definitely have to have more conversations with it. I'm interested, I sent a letter to Clive here about a week ago, I haven't had a response back, but it addressed a lot of these things. And I truly believe it's going to take leaders of those new facilities to recognize this is where the void is in the state of Iowa, and how can we help do it? If all of these brand new mental health facilities are like, we want to take care of the easy ones, but we're not going to take care of the hard ones.
Right.
I mean, that's what it's going to take. So I would suggest, I mean, I know Rachel has deadlines, but I think a lot of them are, I mean, to have the money spent by July of 2022, I think we need to have some outside of a Board of Supervisors meetings, discussions on with those groups, how do we ultimately do it?
I think where Keisha's coming from is if the legislature, if the state is paying these places that are taking these patients, then I think what she's saying, the legislature needs to come say, you either take them all or you ain't getting any money.
And
no, I'm saying that you can't keep somebody beyond, I mean, I deal with this daily, and if they're not willing, if they're not willing, unless the court decides to commit them, I don't know what else we're gonna do.
we're not gonna, so this is like Mark said, this
This is my second job. I mean, I get that you're.
Out of respect to Tyler's time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I guess, but what I get a little concerned about with some of these discussions, though, we get bogged down in that detail. If we have Marion County taxpayer money that's gonna go back to the state of Iowa. So what do you wanna use it for? Do you wanna try to solve for this issue and say we want to allocate some of these dollars to at least try to pursue it? If there's a legislative fix, then we pursue a legislative fix. But at least the dollars are allocated. This is about allocation of money. It's not trying to solve the whole issue today.
Right, but I don't want to spend, I mean, I'm looking at the bigger picture of the aspect of, do we really want to spend this if it's not going to be fixed? You just said 8 years, and you've been working on it for 8 or 9 years.
We can't spend it if we don't have it, so it'll go back to the state of Iowa, Keisha.
Okay, so
I'm just
what's the
asking for an
deadline?
allocation. Do you agree with the allocation, and do you want to make the attempt? If we can't get it, the money's going to go to the state. That's where it'll go. It'll get spent one way or the other.
Right, but 165,000 is what you're wanting to go to the nonprofit project?
That's just a placeholder.
That's just a placeholder.
We don't have a dollar amount. That's something we need to talk about. What is the dollar amount? What would startup require, and who are our partners? I think we have enough flexibility within our current budget. We have to fully expend $4 million plus another $2 million on top of that this year to not spend money back. We have enough room in our budget that I think we could do what's slated plus nonprofit startup.
there's an old adage here, you can't let the perfect get in the way of the good. And if the notion is that we have a problem to solve, we have not solved it in the current mental health structure. It has still not been solved. The subset of the subset of cases, which take an inordinate amount of law enforcement time to take care of. Is there something we can do? If the answer is no, then this money, and we can't spend it on anything mental health related in Marion County, is going to go to the state of Iowa. It's not staying with us. It's going to be in the cross-region budget anyway. So it's not like we're going to get a check for this and we're going to hold the check. It's going to stay in the cross budget until we have a plan and something to expend it on. Okay. So the point of this is to say, do we have some agreement at a board of supervisor level to say to the cross board, these are the projects we'd like to pursue with these dollars, and that total is $303,000 that we'd like to bring back to Marion County to try.
And it's broken down into these bullet points here, right?
That's what it is.
Right.
So you're fine with everything, Mark?
I'm fine with everything on here. Like I said, every bullet point on here is something we could probably act on pretty quickly, other than the last one. The last one's going to take discussion. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to see, does it meet, can we even do it? But at least we've allocated some money to say, let's try.
The problem is, I don't know what your list is. I haven't seen the 303,000 to know what that list is on it, so, I mean.
It's the same what it was.
From before, whatever. on
Yeah,
it.
it hasn't changed.
But I thought that was like 176,000. So I guess the question is, does it need to be decided right now, or can we give it 2 weeks? I mean, to the next board of supervisors meeting, then make that vote? Just, I apologize, but to give me a
It's gonna
chance
be the
to
same
look
thing.
through that.
Yeah, well, there really is no, it's the cross board that has to decide it.
Okay.
So what we've asked all of our members to do is go back and get some agreement from their board of supervisor members that these are the projects they'd like to at least pursue. That's been the whole point of these.
But we
of
would
these
have,
discussions.
would we have the November, when do you guys meet again?
November 30th.
So is that the same date as, what's our next meeting? So,
Yeah, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. What is the?
26.
Yeah.
Or no,
23rd.
23rd. Yeah.
What's the difference in the numbers here on this social worker, the law enforcement social worker? You got 53,000 and 80,000. Which one is it? What's the
Yeah,
difference?
so 53,000 was an estimate for the remainder of this fiscal year based on an $80,000 per year cost.
Okay. All right.
So 80,000 was what another region was paying per year.
But I think, Rachel, on that email you sent just this morning, I think that's gonna be quite a bit higher than what, just from talking to Chief Tupper in regards to that cost probably.
Yeah, they have 2 social workers on staff, and the numbers he gave me weren't split out by year. He was just telling me where they've received money from. So giving me ideas on how we can sustain it, because they actually haven't received any money from their region. They went completely outside of the region to do that. So I think realistically, we're probably looking at, it'd be under 100,000 a year, I think, for one person. I mean, you're looking at $34, $35 an hour for a bachelor level person, which it could be hard to find, honestly, to find someone.
is some of these, since this is one-time dollars, is this something that, a contract, or is some of these others using like contracting with a social worker?
So what the other entities are doing, the social worker is employed by their community mental health center, and that's how they get their clinical oversight.
Okay.
So they're not employed by the county or the city. They're employed by a private nonprofit, and but they're located within either the sheriff's department or the city police department.
There needs to be more discussion.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, I would hate for the three of you to vote on something without us working out the details even more.
I mean, if this social worker is employed by somebody else, then where do they live, and how are you gonna get them here on a snap your fingers, and come here, I need your assistance?
Well, and I think they had to, from what they're talking about, it would be a schedule from like 2 to 10 or something, so at 3 o'clock in the morning, I don't know, Rachel, did they say, are they then called out at 3, or is it still the deputy or the police officer handling it?
They said that they have had a few instances where they called them out, but they're not on-call staff. They use mobile crisis if it's an overnight thing.
What's the point? Is it not a good idea, bad idea, what is it?
I don't think it's a good idea if they're not on call. I think just my opinion is you can't guess when there's going to be a mental health crisis, and whether it be at 7 in the morning or, 3 o'clock in the morning, or you're taking a gamble. We're going to hire somebody for this window, but the only time they're going to be available is that window. You might as well use mobile crisis.
You can't go, if you go to a
Yeah.
call, you can't say, oh, wait a minute, I can't come to that.
So you're not in favor of that one at all?
Not unless there's other details worked out.
Well, I don't know that we'll get all those worked out before we have to spend the money or allocate the money.
It's a one-time thing though, isn't it?
It's one-time money at this point, yes.
Well, it's one time, but in the sense that we can potentially encumber into the next fiscal year.
Right.
So that gives us time to build a program the way we want it built. These are just examples. So if we want on-call, we can look at on-call.
See, I think that's the point, guys, is you're thinking details. If the concept sounds reasonable, but there's still details to be worked out, we at least get the dollars allocated.
I don't have any problem with the concept. It's the details that
And if the details turn out to be problematic or we can't do it, well, the money's gonna go to the state of Iowa.
That's gonna go there anyway if we don't.
And I'm, at least this way, we're trying to get the dollars that Marion County taxpayers have put into this and get some of it back. But if it goes to the state, we're not gonna get any, of it.
That's a good point.
It's gonna go to Polk County.
I see where you're coming from. That's a good point.
So Rachel, what's the drop deadline for allocating, like Mark's asking? When do we have to let the state know that?
That's why we're doing this now, is because we've got till the 31st of the year.
So we will contract with DHS. Our contract will be effective January 1st. For us to encumber something, we really need to get that into our budget. We're doing our budgets for July now. That'll go on our cross-board meeting for November 30th. So we could amend that budget. My budget's not due to DHS until February. But we want to have contracts in place, say, hey, this is what we're looking at, this is how much money we're thinking, and this is what we're working on, so they can approve that. We don't necessarily have to expend the money.
Right.
We just have to have it allocated and encumbered.
Makes sense. And we're on the clock. So we're doing our best in a short window of time to try to recapture some of these dollars. That's really the whole point.
How does the well works fit into the mental health part of it, getting people to work?
Rachel?
Yeah, so they actually serve individuals that we work with. We actually, right now, we do pay funding for individuals to go to the WellWorks program, or pay transportation for individuals to get to the WellWorks program. So we would no longer pay that transportation as they would be if they're provided a vehicle to pick people up for work. So
Through a mental health issue is why they're working, or I'm confused.
they'll work with anyone, but they do serve the mental health substance abuse population. Probably 90% of the people they work with would fall into that category.
Okay, thank you, Rachel.
Yep.
Hey, Rachel, if we do go that direction on them, I know I had a conversation with you before about Secretary of State and how they're, what their versus profit versus nonprofit. Legal counsel has stated that you're going to want to have something for the cross region in regards to that, whether it was their minutes when they switched to nonprofit. So just like to make sure that that's noted.
do you want to do? I mean, if we don't want to, if none of it seems to fit, we'll just give it all back to the state. Makes my cross-region meeting very easy.
No, I'm a detail type person, but I also understand where you're coming from. If we don't get
We don't have
something,
time.
if we don't get something structured after.
If we had time,
lose
Steve,
money.
I
We're gonna lose it
agree
anyway.
with you. I agree, we need time, but we don't have it. So, there you go.
Rachel, is this a situation where you would have to start a nonprofit?
Who is this, please?
It's Carrie Gordon.
I can't hear anybody.
It's okay, we can't hear it, so, yeah. It's whether we want to allow her to speak.
Yeah, I get that. That's why I'm asking who it is. Okay. Rachel,
Do you want me to answer the question?
yeah, go ahead, that's fine.
Okay,
That
yeah,
sounds great.
so we're looking at the potential of a creation of a nonprofit in partnership with public health. So their joint programming at, is beneficial both to the public at large and the mental health and disability service population, that both our region and public health serves. So, we definitely have an interest in we're serving the same population quite a bit of the time. Mental health is a public health issue, right? So we're looking at how do we create something that serves the population in Marion County and, kind of fills those gaps that us mental entity is not able to necessarily do.
Very good, well said.
So Jason, do you feel with regards to the,
Well, it's not my vote. I think we need to take two weeks. I mean, I agree with Mark. It needs to be spent by the next cross meeting on that aspect for coming back to our region. But I think we need to take the next 2 weeks. I'll meet with each one of you individually or whatever to have the discussion of what's on that list. What are the realistic expectations? Is it gonna solve the issue? I mean, on that, I don't think it's gonna be solved today because I think I agree with Mark, what Mark's saying about
We already
spending
know
it.
the answer to that. We
Yeah,
just
exactly,
need to
but I
allocate the money.
think you two have other questions that need to be answered, I mean, independently, that we're not gonna get answered today. I mean, that's my take on it, but I agree with Mark that we need to have this done before the next cross-region meeting. I mean, so if I was sitting in your shoes, I would have more questions and I would want that 2 weeks, but you guys have to make that decision on it. But I agree with Mark that we can't wait another month or two to decide. I mean, so.
the nonprofit, you're not for sure when you'll hear from them on that, Rachel?
So it depends on which direction we want to go. If we want to create a whole, new nonprofit, or if we're able to find partnership that exists within the community. If, I don't know what that might look like. Maybe Clive is willing to change their tune. Maybe Knoxville Hospital is interested in something. So I think it's going to take some more exploration on who's our partners and how we're going to move forward. But I think, like Mark said, we need to move forward.
Here's a question for Rachel. If this nonprofit side of it, and I don't have the sheet in front of me, but the 300-some thousand, if it was decided by the Board of Supervisors now to go that route, to bring the money back to Marion County to do that nonprofit, could the other things on the list be approved by that nonprofit to move forward with?
Yeah, could the social worker fall underneath the nonprofit?
Can you allocate that whole money back?
Sure.
To that side of it? Then you get in the devil of the details.
Sure.
Of what they're asking for.
As in the month that Kim and I have talked about this, and Rachel and Kim have talked about this could be as expansive or as limited as we want. It's going to be dependent on the laws regarding mental health. Okay. It's going to be dependent on licensure and what we want this thing to do. Now, it's been pretty well received by the cross region. I mean, they were, the concept, when you talk about from just the social worker side, they said, man, if you can pull this off, this would be phenomenal for our region because we don't have anything like it. And it can absorb some of these services that we're having to farm out right now to all these different contracts. So it has tremendous potential, but it's still an open question. Can we pull all that off? And I think we have to have the money, again, it just comes back to having the money allocated so we can pursue it to see, can it work?
So if you
And the answer may be no.
So if you allocated the money to the nonprofit on whatever that is,
I would feel much more comfortable about that.
then you could have the devils in the details on what it was spent for.
Yeah, that leaves it a little more open versus us just saying all of this, and that's my thoughts.
I don't care. I just want the 300,000 to come back to Marion County, to our taxpayers.
So what's the motion?
There really is, the motion is, do you agree on the concept of these
I
projects?
agree on the concept
Of what? Of the whole?
of the whole thing,
And
just so we can get that.
And at the end of the day, we can go back and ask for the 300,000 from the cross region, and then we can allocate. These are going to change anyway.
That's right, we can change that.
But it gives us some definition to talk to the cross board. This is our intention. Maybe it all folds into a nonprofit. Don't know. Don't really answer that question.
Yeah, I like the aspect of just saying, pursuing the nonprofit, taking those dollars and putting them under a nonprofit, pursuing that.
Good.
So we're in agreement.
Are we in
I mean,
tacit
I'm willing to
agreement
make that.
on the 300,000?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Rachel, did you get?
Yeah, can you, if you're gonna go with the motion and put a dollar amount in it, can you say like 300,000 to 500,000? Just because there is that money that we still have kind of floating out there.
But we're not going to do it, right?
We're not doing a motion.
The cross board has to
Okay.
approve this, Rachel. So we're going to come back and say Marion County is in general agreement on the concepts of these projects.
Okay.
And then,
Perfect.
and then in the board meeting, cross board meeting, we can say, look, there's additional dollars we think we can apply to this.
Okay.
That's how we're going to approach that. That'll give us time to talk and work out some of the details that we know we have to work out. Make sense?
Yep.
Very good.
Do we need to take a break at all? Does
Let's close
everybody
discussion on this item.
make motion to close?
Discussion.
I'll second.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Sorry, I said aye. I had my button pushed.
There was an aye there. All right, let's close discussion. Thank you. All right. Anybody want to take a 5-minute break?
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
Is there a motion for a recess?
Make motion for recess.
Second.
5 minutes.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
November 9th, part 2.
All right, is there a motion to reconvene from our break?
Make motion to reconvene.
Second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye. Pause for dramatic effect. All right. On to the next item.
they got shot.
More talk about money. All right. The American Rescue Plan and the distribution of that money. In our last board meeting, the chart that's on the board, or the listing on the board, was a proposed allocation of the roughly $6 million Marion County will receive from the federal government for COVID relief. So this is this ARPA money everybody's been talking about. After discussions with elected officials, department heads, other folks, I just went and I listed this out and put these allocations next to these different items that fit the legal and regulatory requirements of ARPA as we know them today. All right. Now, I think a lot of counties, a lot of states, a lot of cities have been wrestling with what can we spend this money on? As I've talked about in prior meetings, we've gone to legal counsel. I've gone to some folks I know from financial services, and there's nobody that wants to give us consulting advice on this because nobody knows. They're just afraid of the clawback provision, and they're afraid of the potential for advising people inappropriately. So that kind of leaves us out to try to figure this out on our own on what should we do with these dollars. So these categories that are listed on this sheet, conservation, EMA, facilities, HR, IT, road department, and then our 3014 project, all fit within some regulatory purview, regulatory comment on ARPA. So I'm pretty confident that we wouldn't be coloring outside the lines. When Michaela and Jake do the accounting for this, we're not going to get a comment back from the Fed saying, oh, by the way, you can't spend it on that. And then when we certify from an audit standpoint, I think we'd be able to certify with, full confidence that that would pass regulatory scrutiny. The biggest risk to ARPA in my mind is regulatory. So it's making sure that we do this appropriately within how the law was structured. So that's what this attempt is. Conservation, the 3 projects. Steve had initially 5 or 6 on there. I can't remember the full list now, Steve, but I just picked out those 3 because I thought those seemed to be 3 that both were necessary and they generate considerable revenue for Marion County. The EMA project is something that Jeff put out there. He had a couple others. I narrowed it down to this one. Facilities, Chris had a list of different items that were updates to various buildings, security, LEC, courthouse, public health. They fit within the concept of ventilation and emergency management and those things that are ARPA. Salary premium pay. I know some people thought this was a raise to Lisa. It's not. Sorry, Lisa.
I mean,
this is an allocation to give essentially bonus dollars to people who worked on COVID, who did extra work for COVID, and to provide some additional dollars to those individuals. And I think that's appropriate. So that's what that's for. Disaster recovery for IT. Andrew's got a project on there that I think fits squarely within ARPA, since there's a whole IT section to ARPA. Road department, all of these projects fit. And then the 3014 project is an update to this facility that we use for so many of our meetings and from a board of supervisor standpoint, getting it upgraded. It's got mold, ventilation, sewer problems. So those are all things that fit within ARPA. So that's my idea, and it's merely a proposal. That leaves us about 1.673 million undesignated. So there are other things we could do with those dollars. And that was the point, to give us some cushion, because the estimates may be low or high. We're trying to do this on the fly here. Remember the window. We have to have this money encumbered or allocated by 2020, the end of 2024. I think expenditure through 2026. Am I remembering that correctly, Michaela?
Yes.
So we certainly could pick 3 now and be done, and just leave the rest of it open-ended, and just say we'll come back at a later date and pick some other projects, just as long as we have those things encumbered by 2024.
What do we currently have in the bank?
For ARPA money?
Yes.
3.
Jason has
Sure.
Nope, sorry.
Currently, we have 3.2 million of the total promise of 6.4.
Thank you, Michaela. The reason I asked that is I'm and I think I mentioned it that in an email, that I think we ought to prioritize what money we know we have, just in case the other doesn't show up. It's not that I don't have any faith in the federal government.
Well, I don't have any faith, yeah, that's a great point, Steve. I do think since this is law, they'd have a tough time not sending the rest of the money, but that's me. Of course, they violated some of that, so I won't say that.
I mean, that's just my thought.
No, I think that's not a bad point at all.
Do we need to talk about it all with when receiving the funds? And I know, in regards to the federal government and the mandates that are coming down, does that strap us down anymore when we spend the funds? Is there?
What do you mean? Like the
So,
vaccine
see,
mandates
yeah,
and those things? What are you thinking about?
Well, I just wondered if we spend it, I mean, obviously it's sitting in the bank account and we haven't spent it, but if we do, then that's another way of them saying, well, you received the dollars, you spent the dollars, now you'll be under the mandate because you're over 100 people.
Well, again, the statute for ARPA doesn't link those things. So, and remember the mandate for employer vaccine mandates, that's a OSHA rule, that's not even a law.
Right, and I know it's being held up right now
Well,
in court.
Fifth Circuit put a stay on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna go to the Supreme Court.
It's just,
I get your point.
Yeah,
I get your point. I mean, the idea of saying, hey, you used our money, therefore you are now under all of our extracurricular mandates. I get it.
Okay.
So that's a fair point.
That was something I wanted to bring up. Also, it's my understanding, and maybe Karen can advise on this, the scanning of the documents, is there, in regards to Marshall County, with the tornado, did they have some documents that now they can't do, birth certificates, things of that order, because they're lost? Is the scanning the documents important agenda item?
Yes. Basically, we have them in books in the back room. If there was a tornado, there was a flood, that's the only copy of those records, in the old records, in the big books. And most abstractors have to do an abstract going back 40 years, which that, changes every year, what that deadline is.
And I say that because I know some other counties, I have reached out to other counties and they are doing the scanning as one of their priorities, so.
Yes,
yeah.
There are several counties that.
And Jake talked about that in our meetings as well.
Yeah.
Did he?
So, yeah.
What else did I have on my, I still am intrigued about the trails. I know that I have been doing some research, and I know that Jamie Cashman through ISAC is also still, obviously, nobody, like you said earlier, nobody wants to give you a strong definition of this is what you can do, but you can expand a park, but you can't do a trail. You're like, so I would still like to think about the dollars in which we have and saying, okay, is there a priority, like you had stated, if there's 3, and then maybe some of the extra funds, as time goes on, could, if there's a definition that comes down and whether we could ever do anything with trails, I'd be supportive of that.
Yeah, I thought Steve, you reported last week that Cashman said that just doesn't fit.
I said other people I talked to, we got some email from Cashman, and it's that.
Just got it late last
It's
night.
that gray, in his email it says it's that gray area.
Hang on a second.
Basically Cashman sent us an email, what was it, last night? that we got it?
Yeah, it was late last night.
And basically said it was again, the gray area that we know is a gray area, and all the directors that I talked to said the same thing, that it's a gray area, and nobody wants to pull the trigger on trail. They want somebody else, if they're gonna do it, to go first. And then they were skeptical about the state auditor, Mr. Sands. He was also skeptical whether that trails would fall into that. Not necessarily that he's the authority on that, but those are just things that kind of added up. The people were kind of nervous about trails.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think in the research that I've been able to do, no matter what we do, you have to do a resolution for each item. Was the suggestion, because as long as you can take the resolution and tie it to COVID, that's important. I would just like to think if there's time and if we can get any guidance from the federal government that we could use it for trails, I would love that. But I mean, ultimately, I don't want the clawback, so I wanna make sure that, so.
Yeah, question is, do you want to be the trailblazer?
Right.
No pun intended.
Right, I know. So, I mean, I will say, I mean, just looking at these, the conservation, I am in support of that, and, I mean, we're gonna spend conservation and facilities, you've got roughly $3 million right there.
$1,100,000.
Yeah. And then if you do the, human resource, the salary, include that.
Well, here's where I'm at. With the current money that we have,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at conservation, facilities, and the fuel storage, which puts it at $3,311,000. I mean, we could probably come up with $111,000 if we had to get those three items done and spend the current money that we have in the bank. And then these other ones would fall in once we received our other money. And that's why I'm just prioritizing.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm doing. In my mind.
Steve?
Yeah, and I guess the comment I would make on ours is, like the cabins, it would take a while to get design and a location done to do that. So, plus with reservations and everything, it'd be a scheduling issue for us a little bit. But I guess is what I'm saying. And then I think you mentioned, Mark, too, that the surplus, because you're not exactly sure what the final cost will be on most of these projects, or estimates, I get that. But those change. If you do it a year from now, that's gonna change.
Yep.
So there probably needs to be some money available, like you said earlier, up and down, whether it's gonna be 100,000 more or 50,000 less, that type of stuff, to make sure that those can be done, so.
Right.
Well, we have the bulk of it to cover what those three that I mentioned. And we have until
2024 to encumber the money. Spend by 2026.
Okay.
And like Steve said, if we agree on the split now or what the projects are, the actual cost we're not going to know until he designs it next year.
Yeah, I understand that.
Chris, you're probably not going to know a lot until when?
Well, for the HVAC upgrades, those are pretty set numbers now. The security upgrades, it will take a couple weeks to tie those all together.
So that's probably a faster deal than Steve's project.
I would say so.
And the fuel side, Tyler?
But from the supplier, that's a little ways out, just based on availability. For the LEC location, we could move faster on that than we would on our new facility.
Okay.
But these costs are just infrastructure costs, they're not fuel costs, right?
Right, they're fuel storage infrastructure costs.
Right. So we're not gonna, so Steve, it'll end up being, we don't expend, we'll have a good portion, at least probably 1.25 million of it still in our accounts next year. Because Steve won't be ready yet.
Right. And there's nothing to say that if this money gets tight or whatever, we don't get that, we can't scale the projects down a little bit. I wouldn't think, you know what I'm saying? Well, you already got, you have a number of campsites, you already know that number, don't you? Yeah.
You have to, these are the best estimates for now.
Right.
And then whatever that, I mean, Steve, you could take that 1.6 million that's left over, just divide it by 2. And try to leave our cushion at that.
So I'm for, proposing just picking, the few and then leaving the rest, if that's how we want to do that.
I just have a problem spending money we don't have, you know what I mean?
No, I get it. I get
Can
it.
I say something?
It's just really easy to print it today, Steve.
I would just ask that you consider the salary and premium pay to those folks that, I think you need to make that a priority. I've identified 24 people yesterday. It's for your approval. I don't think 25,000 is going to be enough. But I would make, that's my suggestion.
Isn't there the parameters in which
It's very,
it's
it's
tight?
very narrow
Yeah.
on what you can, who can receive that.
I've got a question, as an elected official,
Let me answer that question first. So it's $13 an hour
Mhm.
is the hourly rate, can't go beyond that.
Right.
And there's an aggregate cap,
Mhm.
which is not a real high aggregate cap, it's a very small cap. So these are intended as small bonus payments for folks.
And I would just think that we would want to do that sooner rather than later. I think we waited long enough.
I don't
And it's
disagree.
very narrow of who can get that. And I have a list of what I believe, it's because it's very short.
so as an elected official, I haven't seen that list, but how did you determine those 26 people or whatever? I mean, I have an argument on 50 employees that I don't know if any of them are on your list or not.
No, they're not.
But why not?
It specifically says in the regulations who can actually get it.
Law enforcement's not included in that?
No.
Because I know across the nation.
Broadly, law enforcement is.
Yeah, I'm just saying that,
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a lot more discussion on that, because whether it be me, the road department, I mean, I think all county officials were impacted by it. So I don't think it's really fair for, when we haven't even seen a list of 26 people, to vote on that, on who those people are. I mean, I'm sure Danny had extra work on.
I don't think that's the point. I think much
No,
like the previous discussion, is that number enough?
Well, unless we identify what all employees it is, which we don't know, hard to tell. It could be 100,000, it could be 150,000.
Then
But we have to be involved in those conversations to be able to make an argument for our staff.
She did this for me.
Okay, well, I'm just
And
throwing
I'm
my
just-
point of view out as an elected official.
I'm just pointing out to everybody again, if the number's not enough, we need to put more into the number. What I'm hearing from you is it may not be enough.
I don't know, that's what, I
Well,
think.
if it's not 25, but it's 50, I assume that would be more. Unless you want to
Yes.
give everybody $1.25.
I don't know what the number would be, Mark, because I don't know what criteria was used to do that. So it's something where I think we as elected should be involved in those discussions to know what is the criteria, who are the people, who are the individuals, because I think that there's a lot of us in this room that could articulate and make arguments for our staff that this is how it impacted them.
Sure.
I mean, and so
And I don't
without knowing that
disagree.
number, but we haven't been involved in the conversations about it.
And I just put this together for Mark, and this is my interpretation,
Yeah.
and that's my
So
opinion,
it's a
is
fair
that,
discussion.
Well,
Right.
I just don't want it voted on that, hey, if it's 25, and all of a sudden we have arguments that, I mean, the auditor, the recorder, the treasurer.
It's very
the
specific.
Sheriff's office, the road department, no, what I'm saying is, I don't know what that criteria is, but I'm pretty sure law enforcement's included. I'll just speak for my own.
I know it
I
is.
mean, yeah, so
I
that
know it
being
is.
said, I mean, there probably needs to be more discussion on what that dollar amount is.
and I'm just saying, I think that needs to be a priority, that I think that
That's
needs
all
to be
she said.
paid.
Okay,
Oh.
She came to me and said, I don't think it's enough.
okay.
Right,
That was the whole point.
yeah, and I don't think it's enough, and I think it needs to be a priority, because I would like to see that paid this calendar year, rather than wait any longer.
Yeah.
for those
What's the
folks.
definition above and beyond? I mean, I'm a little.
And I don't have the regs right in front of me, but,
The
we
whole,
can,
again,
I have a hard time paying people extra for doing their job.
yeah, so again, the point of this is, just like the last meeting, allocating a certain amount of dollars on projects that we think we want to use this money for. If one of those is a bonus allocation, I don't care if it's for one person or 100, but if it's for 100, we probably need to set aside a few more dollars than if it's one. That's the whole point.
But
And if you get bogged down in, well, I've got 18 and you've got 26 and we'll spend all day trying to sort out who's gonna get what. Just what's the pool of dollars, and we can adjust as we need to.
Absolutely.
But like to Steve's point, if I've got 3 million to spend and you're concerned about not getting the rest, we better allocate something. Otherwise, we'll give it all to conservation.
Good enough.
Lisa, do you have a recommendation, an amount, or just?
I just have a preliminary, I did what I usually do is I read it, I categorized it, my thoughts, and then like I've done before, I give you scenarios.
Okay.
You know, this rate, this rate, this rate, this rate, so.
But we
it's
know
just a starting
we know
point.
the $13 an hour is, that's a
Yeah,
cap, so we have to be
And I don't think
mindful.
that's gonna be a problem, but, it was just a starting point.
Right.
And I can tell you
So you
already at starting point,
Right.
I think 25,000 is too,
It's too
it's
light.
not enough.
Okay.
Okay.
No, it's fair.
And I
That's
think it
what,
needs to be a priority.
that's what I wanted, Lisa. Thank you.
I would just ask that, can we get a copy of the 26 to know if any of our employees were included
Sure.
in that? That's, those people that were, the 26 names did not.
But
Mine just include public health.
It's all public health?
Mhm.
Okay.
And that, again, was a starting point because
Okay.
the
that's what I
safety,
asked her for.
Okay,
and
just
the
public
safety
health.
of
I
it
didn't
was
know.
great for me when I looked at it. So again,
We could have this argument.
I'm not,
with
doesn't mean I'm right,
We could have
No, I
this
just
argument with
wanted to know,
everybody.
I didn't know what employees were, so.
and I think there was one outside of public health that I added.
And thank you for
Later.
doing that, Lisa. You
Yes.
did exactly what I
Thank
asked
you.
you to do. Thank you.
All right.
So it sounds like that number's too light.
Yeah. No.
We'll take it at that.
Okay.
So, what would you like to do? The
Could-
conservation projects, are we somewhat in agreement on those?
Yep, I am in favor
Steve,
of that,
you
yep.
The facilities projects,
Yes, I am in favor of that.
okay. And the Junction 92 fuel projects.
Yes, I'm in
And
favor.
we've already spent all the money we got in the bank.
So
But we can also, I mean, because depending upon when this is gonna come in.
timing,
Yeah.
it's cash flow timing.
Yeah,
Right.
and then I do think we make a priority for the,
I think we have to
Pay.
make, or at least allocate something to employees for bonuses for what it's covered under the rules. I think we have to do that. So I think that has to be a priority. Now, whether that number is 25,000, 75,000, whatever that number is, I'm okay with saying it's 75, and if we adjust as we talk, Jason, we adjust.
Can we get a copy of these rules?
I can,
Okay,
I can give you the
It's nice
section
reading.
that Renee has it.
okay.
Tyler.
You said there had to be a resolution for these, is that?
It's
Well,
recommended.
The plan was this is what the state of Iowa did, and I don't actually care how we do it. But the state of Iowa put together one document that had their plan. That's what I was intending to do. Each one would be a resolution within the plan.
Yeah.
That was already, we talked about this last time.
So is that something you would do, or are you asking a department head to spearhead
No,
some of these priorities?
No,
or-
we'll do that.
Okay,
We'll
all right,
put it.
thanks.
so do we have to put necessarily a dollar amount at this point? You just, I mean, can't we just say the money that we currently have? We have those 4 items?
Well, I think you want to have some parameter around it. I mean, I've never done a budget without some kind of target. At least that gives Tyler and Steve and Chris a green light to go ahead. At least start getting some numbers put together, or getting out and talking to folks and getting things lined up. And then in the next meeting, we put together the 3 resolutions that we need right now for those projects. That sound reasonable?
That's fine, it's just, are you wanting from us an amount on the,
I would like
salary
to,
premium?
well, I think that would be a good thing. I mean, as we talk, we're gonna need some kind, it
I'm
can't
gonna
be
assume
open-ended.
at least 75 to 100. I mean,
I don't know, I don't know, how do you
you don't have to
answer that?
spend it all.
How do you answer that question, because I don't know who's going to be eligible for
Well, we'll
that.
just leave it, we can just leave it open. And if it turns out through the course of discussions, we've got a list of 60 people and it's 250,000, I think we gotta regroup and have a conversation.
Yes.
That's gonna be too darn high. I already know that. So let's say we want to do that, we're just not gonna put anything to it right now.
Yeah, I'm more comfortable with that.
Okay.
I mean,
Since the projects we're gonna focus on are conservation, facilities, and roads for now, we can get resolutions for the next meeting drawn up for that. Danny, if you can make a note on that.
the only, with conservation is that this money probably won't be coming out until the next.
That's why we can do
That's why
the
you'll
premium pay.
You will have some cash flow,
Yeah.
positive cash flow. Okay? Are we in agreement on those three so that we can draft the resolutions?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with the three, but I think I don't know how else we state that we're for the premium pay, because I don't want it to go out that.
I don't think you say, I think what we'll do is we'll pull together some meetings with Lisa and with electeds and we'll go from there.
Okay.
And we'll start to generate what that number looks like.
Yeah.
We can have those debates. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, no, as long as the electeds understand that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
You know what's gonna be hard about the whole thing? If somebody's gonna say, well, I'm not as important as they are, and you gave them
But as an elected, I think that, you'll be able to come back and give it advice.
better be able to explain it.
Yeah.
Okay, so next meeting, 3 resolutions, conservation, facilities, roads. We'll figure out the language, Danny, and in keeping with ARPA and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that because we have that. We know we got that. I'm comfortable with these prioritizing them.
Okay. Okay, good. Let's do that. So I'll get with you and we'll get with Ed and we'll draft those resolutions and there'll be formal approval at our next meeting on those 3 items. Sound reasonable, everybody?
Yep, sounds fine.
There's no motion or anything we need for this because we'll
just
take our formal motions at the next meeting.
Discussion.
Okay, is there a motion to close discussion?
Make motion to close discussion.
Second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye?
Johnner,
Aye.
All right. Loss funding.
No, Chris.
Chris, VA.
VA is being demoed currently.
Thank you.
We told him he had 15 seconds, he did it in 8.
Very good, very good.
Oh, do they know the landfill's going to be closed for a couple days because of the scale being worked on? I got a landfill meeting tomorrow, Chris, I'll ask him if he surely contacted them.
You're good, bud.
Morning stretch.
We were just talking this morning and that did not come up and I wasn't aware of it either, so I'll reach out after the meeting.
Yeah,
So
you
by 3 or 4 o'clock, I should be talking.
Why don't you, I can't remember, I just got an email, I didn't get it from Rick, but I got it from somebody else, find out, I can't remember what date it is, the 19th maybe or something,
Okay, I'll verify and I can call
Okay.
Rick too.
All right.
Thanks for letting me know, Steve.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris. All right, now, loss funding request.
Do we need to close discussion or are we good?
Go ahead.
No, it doesn't matter. It just.
Make a motion.
Make motion to close discussion on the VA.
Second.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
All right. Tyler.
So this is a request to use local option sales tax as a match for FLAP funding. So what is FLAP? So FLAP is Federal Land Access Program. We can use this funding source for improving transportation facilities within or adjacent to federal lands, supplement our normal allocations for transportation. So who and what is eligible? We are eligible as a county, and specifically out of that list of eligible projects, we'd be looking at enhancements, capital improvements, and safety improvements for this particular project. Currently, Federal Highway Administration has issued a call for projects. Application period, we are within the application period currently. It goes through February 1st of 22. The funds would not be available until federal fiscal year 23 through 26, and in total for the state of Iowa in that 3-year time frame is $1.3 million, so not a lot of dollars. Recent projects in Marion County have not been initiated by either my office or Steve's, but by the Iowa DNR. They upgraded a level B road of ours and provided a paved boat ramp and lake access off of Dubuque Street. So that was the most recent local use of flat funds. It does require a 20% match. It's a reimbursement, so we must be able to cash flow the project through my budget, Steve's budget, general fund, local option sales tax, something of that sort. Portion could be out of the proposed project that you'll see 100% reimbursable through safety funds, which we do have a safety aspect in our project proposed. So what is the proposed project? It would be the paving of Fillmore Drive off of Highway G28 to the East Roberts Creek Campground and what do you call that, Steve? The Ranger House?
Yeah, Park Ranger's house.
Park Ranger House. So basically all of the gravel road lies on federal property that is managed by conservation. It would include 5-inch HMA with a treated base. That's my proposal based on some cost estimates ran. It would be the most cost-effective way to get an appropriate road paved. It would include culvert replacements and realignment of the intersection at the East Campground. Currently, based on conversations Steve and I have had, we're proposing a bike lane be added for access to the Volkswagen Trail at G28 and improvements, which there's currently nothing, to the crossing at G28 for bike access to the trail. So just a few things for why economic impact is a big part of the application process. And as you can see, there's a campground. In your ARPA proposal, there were cabins for the East Campground, Frisbee golf course, and then stand-up paddleboarding. Steve has a company that utilizes the boat ramp off of Fillmore Drive, and he's looking to grow and expand that business. And however, it's associated with the campground. I don't know if you have any more on that, Steve.
Yeah, we've got 56 full-service sites there, and every weekend they're basically full now, and everybody that comes up there has kids and bikes, and right now what they do to access the trail is they ride down Fillmore Drive, the gravel road, and then they basically get across G28 as best they can, which is a fairly unsafe environment. You know, when they come around heading westbound, the cars come from Pella going westbound, they're moving at a pretty good rate of speed. That's probably the number one complaint we have is there's no paved trail to get to the trail from campground. And then the stand-up paddleboard company, they want to build actually more of a permanent facility out there at the boat ramp so they can house their boards out there and expand into kayaks and canoes. He also works out of Des Moines as well, so he's got Des Moines and Roberts Creek, and he wants to continue to expand those. So a paved road would help that. The other problem we have too, and I've noticed when big campers, like the big fifth wheels that we have on that east side that come up, when they get to G28 and Fillmore and start to take off, some of those big units, it takes them a while to get up to speed. And with cars coming westbound around that corner at 60 miles an hour, so they have to hit the brakes a lot of times. We notice that every weekend when those big rigs are trying to move out of there because you're on gravel. And if they're pulling with a dually, those dualies will spin. It takes them a while just to get momentum, to get going. So we have noticed that, and that's a safety issue as well.
So speaking with the Iowa DOT administrator of flat funds for Iowa, every aspect of this project that we are proposing is a benefit for our application. To have multimodal use, safety improvements, access, to these types of facilities and being within federal property. All those things bode well for our application. So just a little bit more on what the project would include. Proposing 28-foot full paved width with a 6-foot bike lane on one side. This would include appropriate signage and pavement markings to accommodate that. It would be a very low speed roadway, like 25 to 30 mile per hour recommended. And I'm proposing the west side of Fillmore Drive to reduce the crossing of bikes to just the one location on G28, so they don't only have to cross traffic at one location. That would give them access to the campground, to potential cabins, and also to the boat ramp that we discussed. Can you guys tap me ahead one? So the crossing improvement at Highway G28, this is nothing set in stone here, but the consideration would be for this type of crossing, which would be initiated by the cyclist or the pedestrian. So they would have to push a button. Similar devices can be seen at the hospital on Lincoln Street or Highway 14 here in Knoxville. These are solar powered. They do communicate with each other, so they would flash for both directions of travel, allow adequate time for vehicles or for the pedestrians or cyclists to cross. There would have to be some modifications or grading and paving done to access the trail on the south side of Highway G28 as part of this. That was included in our project. But there's typically 47% reduction in crashes, and the studies have shown, a recent study put out by the FHWA, and 98% speed reduction with these types of crossings for the motorist. A recent study showed. So I just got that yesterday, actually.
So how much distance are you looking at paving?
It's about 3,200 feet in total,
okay,
which would include the Fillmore Drive clear to the east federal boundary, and then the hill going into the campground, and including the intersection or the Y at the top of the hill, where you can go to kind of the two areas of the campsites. So the project in total, I'm estimating $750,000. It would require a 20% match. So the ask today is for $150,000 for the board to commit $150,000 of lost. Why lost? Because this benefits my department, definitely benefits Steve's, mine in reduced maintenance and of the gravel, and we don't have to apply gravel to that road anymore. Steve's department, because he can maybe charge more, maybe fill the campsites more often, and all the other things we've talked about. Now, that ask is a max probably, because there's potential that I could use my engineering time, so for designing and the construction administration of the project as in kind. I talked with the Iowa DOT about that. We don't know what that would mean as far as dollar value yet. And as I mentioned earlier, 100% could be 100, or a portion could be 100% reimbursable with the safety aspect. So we could apply for some HSIP funding for the safety improvements, and that would be included in that 20%. Okay, one more. So that is our ask, to allocate $150,000 of the local option sales tax balance, which there's a significant balance in there right now. I didn't write that down. I looked at it. But right now, there are no proposed projects other than what I had proposed to you in previous budget sessions about using a portion of lost for our potential Junction 82 development.
Very good. Thank you, Tyler.
So
Questions?
I guess we're asking now, before we proceed with a fairly detailed application that we have the matching funds to proceed.
So what, refresh me the date when this would kick in?
So
This budget cycle or next?
Federal fiscal years 23, so that would not be until October 1 of next year would be the first time dollars would be available.
So next budget cycle for us?
Yes. For us, yes.
Yes, okay.
And remember, there's only 1.3 million available for the entire state of Iowa for a 3-year period. So our ask is fairly big.
What if,
But according to the state, that's the type of projects they're looking for.
Okay.
They don't want to do $50,000 projects.
they don't want something small? Okay, got it.
Okay.
Got it, okay.
The-
Questions, board, discussion?
The only thing I would just add is on the maintenance end, Tyler talked about that. We do provide dust control on Fillmore, on some of that area, in front of the Ranger's house, then going up that hill into the campground. We dust control that every year, and we do spend a lot of time grading and putting rock on that hill, because those big units, as they go up the hill, they're underpowered, and they're spinning, getting up, and coming down, they're riding the brakes, so we have a lot of chatter that we have to constantly fix there. I would guess, my ranger probably spends at least a half a day every week making sure that road is in good condition so those units can go up and down, but it's a constant battle, so if it was paved, it'd be a lot better.
Thanks, Steve, appreciate it. Board, discussion, questions?
Well, personal note, I had to have a motivator out there this summer and grade the rock off the side of the road. Because the motorcycles were having a really difficult time.
Yeah, yeah, we know.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with that. It does bring up, one of the things with the lost funds is in the future, obviously, in that email it also talked about trails. There's a little bit of more variance there that you can use with the lost funds. So, and if you know what the, balance is for the future, because you'd also spoke about your Junction 92, but that's future. I mean, we can look at future projects. That's what we need to.
Yeah, and I'll previously discuss projects using lost or with what we knew a couple of years ago as far as the lost allocation to this project fund. With the renewal of lost for Marion County, futures look very good on potential revenue coming in for that. So that project balance. Now, you did expand the language and use for that, but things do look very good there, and I can get you those numbers, and Jake has them as well for what those balances are, and any other potential projects that are slated. I was not aware of any others to date. So
There aren't any times. Okay, good. Any other questions for Tyler?
No.
All right, so Tyler, do you need a motion for us to approve this, or do we have time to think about it?
We have time. I mean, we are currently gathering information. Carla is from the stand-up paddleboard gentleman. Park information. We have to get a letter of support from the Corps of Engineers as it is their property. So we have time. February 1st is February 1st is the deadline for the application. Right. So if you guys want to wait, great. I guess my request at this point was just to get it before you.
Yep.
And for consideration prior to budget time.
Yep. So
if generally you're in favor, we'll proceed with formulating the application documents, but we would need kind of that commitment of lost dollars for that application to be submitted.
So I think generally I'm in favor of it. I do want to get with Jake and review the lost fund and kind of future projections on it. Get that back in my head again. I see Jake's on, but I doubt we'll be able to hear him.
No, I think we're fixed. Yeah.
Oh, we're fixed?
Yeah,
Jake, can you hear me?
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
Hey, bud. Hey, glad you could join.
Me?
Yeah. Could you tell me, if you have it at your fingertips, which I know you do,
Okay.
what is the current lost fund balance?
Yep, give me a second. Okay, so looking at the treasurer's fund balance right now, looks like 1.2 million.
Got it. The treasurer's okay with that number?
That was actually my guess.
Ooh. Oh, very good. Thank you, Jake. And we
Yep, and so that, just to be clear, that is in the Fund 29, the local option sales tax fund. There's that designated 50% of usage per project.
Correct. Got it. Thank you. Appreciate it,
Yep.
Jake. Very good.
Okay.
So let me just take a look at all that, Tyler, and then
Yep.
next meeting, board, can you be ready with a
Yep, that's
up
no
or
problem.
down on this? Good? Very good. Thank you.
Unless you have anything else, Steve. Thank you.
Good, thank you. All right, I entertain a motion to close discussion on this item.
Make motion to close discussion.
Second,
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
aye.
Ramey,
Aye, very good. Danny, would you make a note to include this on our next agenda? Thank you. Resolution 2021-81 is a sealed bid opening and assignment for a county tax sale. Michaela, welcome.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I've actually forgotten why I'm here today.
Me too.
It's what,
It's
you,
been a
I
really
mean,
long morning. So,
All right, is that a comment on this meeting, Michaela?
it's been a long meeting.
I've enjoyed it immensely. I know Jason has.
So it's been a while since I've come to you guys with any of these. Obviously 2020 kind of put a kibosh on any type of foreclosure, operations. So the two that I've brought to you today are a little bit different than what I've brought to you in the past. The ones that I brought to you previously, those kind of have three things. They have unknown or uncertain ownership of the parcel. They're usually landlocked and only usable to one other party, and they tend to have extreme tax delinquency in a lot of cases back to, as far as our records go, back to the inception of Solutions, which is like 1988. So the two that I have today are a little bit different. They have known ownership. They are accessible by more than one owner, by more than one party, and they tend to be just a couple of years delinquent. So the first one is parcel number 08146-00000. So I published this in the paper, and I contacted both adjoining landowners, Jay Galeese and Craig Rogers, consulted with the county attorney's office and with Ann in the auditor's real estate office. And initially, both of these parties were interested in submitting a bid. So in this case, I did pursue the sealed bid process. In the end, only one party actually did submit a bid. So I have that for you right here. You can try to open.
Well, thank you.
So it's up to the board whether you want to accept this bid, whether you want to revise this bid, and go ahead and assign the county held tax sale to the party that submitted the bid. Go ahead.
I was saying, before I open this, Michaela, you had a $200 reserve set on
I
this.
did.
So if this bid falls below the $200 threshold, it is not accepted.
I put a reserve on it to make sure that we covered all of the back taxes and any assignment fees.
Okay.
So, and then any extra is then apportioned out to all of the taxing authorities.
Okay, but again, if it's below that, the board has discretion to say we don't accept the bid.
Correct,
Okay.
yes. So again, I just want to refresh everybody's,
If I use that, I'll cut myself. And then it'll be a work comp problem, and then we'll have a debate on that.
So this is just a resolution.
Not today.
So, I'm sorry.
This is just a resolution to assign the county held tax sale. We are not deeding this parcel to the party that has submitted the bid. This just means that we sign the county held tax sale over to them. It's their responsibility to seek legal counsel and to foreclose on that property and to obtain a tax sale deed.
Correct. So I think in court of process, the bid was submitted by Jay Galeese.
Correct, yes.
Correct? And the bid is in excess of the reserve.
Okay.
So I'm gonna pass this over to the board members so they can review that.
Okay, yep.
Okay, thank you. So what do you need from us, Michaela? Approval to go forward? All right. Board, do you have any questions for Michaela before we take action on the resolution?
Normally, do we assign title in the normal situation?
We're not assigning
No, you
title.
don't.
No,
just
do we have in the past? Have we done that?
No.
No.
Okay.
Not, that's not, a vehicle that I have available at my,
Okay.
This is covering back costs.
correct,
Yeah.
yes.
Steve, good question. Any?
Did they know what the minimum reserve was?
Yes.
They did, okay.
That's published in the newspaper, and I also published it on our website now.
Okay.
So.
All right. Thank you.
And I include a copy of the resolution to be published along with the adjoining landowner letter that I submit.
Okay, very good, Michaela. Thank you. Any other questions, board?
No.
Okay, very good. Is there a motion on this resolution?
Make motion to approve resolution 2021-81.
Second.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Very good. And Michaela? I'd rather you hang on to that than me. All right, thank you. Very good. Next item is resolution 2021-82. Same thing. Different tax sale.
Correct,
Lot.
yes,
But
this is
let me
a
ask you, let me just a quick question, Michaela. You said these are of a different character than what we've done in the past.
Yes.
So kind of what's your thinking on getting these off the books? I mean, just because of that, they're unique properties, because there's nobody interested. Why are we doing something that unique?
Why are we doing this process here?
Yeah. Because normally we've got these properties that have been out there for,
Yes,
Year-
and those
20
are
years.
those are the unique properties.
okay,
The ones that have been out there forever, a lot of times, again, the ownership is simply unknown or it's uncertain. You know, as deeds and abstracts have been drawn up over the years, they've actually been left out. This is a more common procedure for county treasurers to bring to the board.
okay, very good. All right, so we got this next one, go ahead.
So this is almost an identical situation, parcel number 08143000000. It's actually just a couple of parcels away from the last parcel we did. Same process. I contacted John Fisk and Brett Childs, submitted adjoining landowner letters to both of them along with a copy of the resolution stating a reserve. As of the expiration, the only party that submitted a sealed bid back to me was Brett Childs.
Okay, very good. So we got a $200 reserve on this one, and this is Brett Child's bid, and I will open it. Okay, there's the bid. It does meet the reserve requirement. Okay. Board, any questions for Michaela?
Sorry, no.
All right, seeing none, is there a motion on resolution 2021-82?
I move we approve resolution 2021-82.
I'll second.
Ramey,
Aye?
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Very good, that's approved. Michaela, thank you.
All right,
Better take
thank
your
you.
opener too.
Actually, Jake's.
Oh, okay.
Secretary read the paper.
All right, thank you, Michaela. Next, we have a special event application for Thrive Living Windows on 11/18/21.
Oh, here we go again.
Tyler is back.
Because of the meeting length, I got a text that I'd be taking this now, said Cassie. So Cassie had to go. I am a Thrive Board member.
Is she back?
She's available if
Oh.
if there's
Yeah,
questions.
great. She can unmute.
Do you want to tell her?
Are you there, Cassie?
Cassie, are you there?
She's trying. No.
Tyler, I think it's yours.
Okay, so in general, living windows will be kind of back to normal. So the special event application is for use of the courthouse grounds, the gazebo for the ball drop. Santa will be doing the tree lighting. I think that's about it for Thrive's part of the application. Let me just check and make sure I got it all.
So there's, again, a desire for courthouse to be open. Chris sent a quick text, he had to leave, he has no issues with the special event application. So.
Yeah, use of gazebo, electric, use of the grounds. Chamber is doing the ball drop again,
Okay.
but Thrive will be doing the tree lighting and decorating
All that.
and lighting and everything.
Okay.
I believe there's a separate event application for the use of the courthouse for the wreath auction as your next item.
Okay. All right, very good. Questions, board, on this one?
Nope.
No, I don't have any.
Thank you.
Is there a motion on this application?
Make motion to approve the special application for the Thrive Knoxville Living Windows.
Second.
Johnner,
Aye.
McComb,
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye. All right. Next, we have another special event application. Knoxville Federated Garden Club Christmas wreath.
Cassie says thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Cassie.
Thank you, Sherry, for hanging with us, you know, it's just such, they're typically not this long.
My first meeting has been fun.
This is unusual.
I was gonna say, she's not gonna come back.
We do want people to come back.
You guys did a nice job.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
So we're applying for the event application to hold the wreath silent auction in the rotunda of the courthouse.
Okay. And I know Chris doesn't have an issue with that. We've done this, did we do this 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I was asking Lisa and I couldn't remember.
It's been done.
Is this a weekday or?
It is Thursday night, Thursday
Okay.
evening.
So do we have any idea, since Chris isn't here, how we're just gonna keep the south door open and then allow them, or do we have any idea, since we don't have all the doors unlocked?
I'm not on the Living Windows Planning Committee, but at our board meeting, we discussed using the halls on each side of the elevator for circulation, just expanding the wreath auction into the north hallway a little bit more.
Okay.
Because it had been the rotunda south hallway before. But
And-
I don't know, maybe Cassie can type.
Yeah, and then I think just from coordination standpoint, I know in years past, Lisa coordinated with the group, I think, to receive the wreaths and organize it, but she's not in the courthouse.
Right.
So will there be somebody in the courthouse taking care of that piece?
We previously used the boardroom.
Yeah, that's now Ed's
That's not
office.
boardroom anymore, so.
But maybe the conference, maybe that could go into the Ed's conference room to hold until they're placed or whatever. Maybe they just have to come after, I don't know. What time do you guys start, I guess? Is it 5? So yeah, there's not.
The original plan was to have them set up the day ahead. We were gonna
Oh, so you could have them
collect
viewing
them
before?
between 12 and 4 on Wednesday, the 17th.
Okay.
And the idea was to display them longer so more people could see
Could
them.
see them.
Yes.
Okay.
The year before, we did it just right before, nobody
did.
knew they were there.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, I'm all in favor of it. I think it's a great event.
We need to probably have them work with Chris, yeah.
Well, and Ed, or whoever's on that first floor, because our space has changed.
No, it's
because
very
of the,
tight.
yeah.
And that was the question, is keeping the doorways opened and keeping the traffic flowing and not obstructing anything.
So how about if we approve this, we kind of approve it pending Chris and Ed and everybody saying, okay, we can make this work, especially so you can display longer, because I think that's where our problem would
Yes.
arise. Because the courthouse is still functioning and we just don't have as much space as we used to have with that elevator.
And maybe we could go, I mean, I don't know if there's room, but maybe on the second floor where the screen, you could display a few, because now you don't have the elevator. I mean, because the elevator, you can't block the elevator. I mean, because a lot of people that come in go to second floor, so.
So we could actually do it on 2 floors and have.
Well, no, I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
I think let's hold on that thought.
Okay.
And I'm thinking of the liability part of that, so.
Yep.
Oh, because of, traveling, yep.
So let's, I have no problem approving, but let's approve it pending everybody signing off
Okay.
on it. Does that sound fair?
It does. When will I hear that follow-up or?
As soon as we approve this, we'll get the people involved with you, so
So that you
hopefully
can
by the end of the week.
communicate,
Yeah,
Somebody will contact me then?
absolutely.
You need my phone number?
Is it on here?
It's on here, I believe. Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Got
Thank
that?
you, Shane.
Thank you. Is there a motion on this application?
Do we need to do anything special for that? So
Like
make
I
a
said,
motion.
we approve it pending
Pending.
sign off from Chris and Ed and.
Yeah.
Okay. After review of the courthouse.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Now we have Ed Bull, Marion County Attorney, on being the signatory on all class action settlement issues related to the opioid
I don't think he's
class
on.
action.
I think
Yeah, Ed is out,
Ed's out.
I've actually got this one. So, we do have a settlement in place for this. Ed has had discussions with, along with various Iowa County attorneys, with the state attorney general. And that issue, there will be dollars coming back to the state of Iowa and distributed throughout various counties. We don't know the dollar amounts exactly yet, but the class action piece of it is over. And there's, I think, been a fair arrangement between the state and the county attorneys involved. We're going to get more dollars than what was originally proposed by the state of Iowa.
Okay.
I think it was going to be an 85-15 split. I think now it's 50-50 split on those dollars. So it was, Ed and the folks did a good job pushing back on the state to get more of those dollars.
Where will this money be deposited?
Don't know.
And is there limitations on what it has to be? Is it
All that is to TBD.
Okay.
This is right now that we want to appoint Ed to be able to sign everything.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, all right?
Yep.
So is there a motion?
Make motion to authorize Marion County Attorney Ed Bull for the signature of the class action settlement regarding opioids.
Second.
Ramey,
Aye?
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Very good. Updates? Steve?
No.
No.
Keisha?
No.
And none for me. Is there a motion to close the open session and move to closed session?
Make motion to close the open session.
Second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner.
Punch.
Aye.
Punch.
Okay, I'll meet you in my office.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right. Is there a motion to reopen open session?
Make motion to open, back into open session.
Second.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye. The board discussed during our closed session the potential sale of Marion County property at 113, 117 South 3rd Street in Knoxville on the square. And the board has come to an agreement that we would like to sell that property and authorize appropriate county officers to begin the process of advertising and drafting necessary legal documents associated with that sale. With that being said, our discussion revolved around setting a floor for the pricing of the property and timing for the opening of closed bids, as this will be a closed bid process. The number that was thrown out was a floor of $40,000 and the closed bids to be opened on our meeting at December 28th, last meeting of 2021. If that is still the agreement of the board, then I would entertain a motion approving those items.
So moved.
I'll second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
What you got?
Very good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make motion, we adjourn.
Second.
McCombs,
Yay.
Ramey,
So I second the A.
Johnner.
Yay.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.